And hello, YouTube. Welcome to 152, Roundtable 152 for Dark Tower Palaver. Looks like Baraki's already in the chat, getting some pre-gaming comments going. Hello, Baraki. Let's go ahead. It does feel like now, because we've had two book clubs, it feels like forever since we've done a roundtable.
Yeah.
When I was like prepping this episode, I'm like, my God, it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
I mean, it hasn't been any longer than normal, but just having that extra episode
Yeah.
buffered in there, that it just, I don't know, makes it feel like it's been forever since we've been here talking outside of Wizard and Glass. Not that that's a bad thing, because Wizard and Glass is amazing. But
we've done it the other way, where we've had plenty of roundtables in between book clubs, but I don't think we've ever done that many book clubs in a row.
Yeah, indeed. So let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, and the extended Stephen King universe, of course. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for episode 152 in the roundtable pile of episodes. Also, I will say YouTube is, of course, lying to me again, saying there's only one viewer, but we have Baraki and Mike have both chimed in the chat, and then you as well.
I don't count, though.
As well as I was also looking, because we found out yesterday, or you mentioned it yesterday during the hangout, that there is a thing now that you can, what is it called again?
It's reactions. It's not there.
It's not there now.
Yeah, it's not there now.
What the fuck?
Literally was there yesterday.
Yeah.
Because in our Discord, Mike,
I think.
Mike, I think is who I said, called it out about a week or so ago, a little over a week ago, that there was an option to turn off reactions, and so I said it. Tad went in and turned it off on your side, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, today it's gone.
Gone.
It's not there.
Luckily, they're not showing. It's not showing on my side.
It's not available. It's not even there. So,
but in there's also a participants, and so when it shows one current viewer, which I know is incorrect, I click that and it shows no one but me. So it's like on the left side it's telling me one viewer, on the right side it's telling me there's no one in here but me. But then we got people chatting, and I know you're in there. So.
Yeah, and for me, when I click on participants, it shows you and Mike, not me.
Stupid.
I guess it's just showing others, but still.
Well, no, because it shows me.
That doesn't count. Mine says one watching now.
Stupid YouTube. And Google.
Don't anger them. We know what happens when you anger them. Stuff goes down.
Yes, Blaine the Mono taught us that. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive on into the introduction stuff. First of all, spoiler warnings. We do cover spoilers in the book club or the roundtable section, unlike the book club episodes. So, I mean, we've even spoiled something from the later books during the intro. So
we have
it does happen. So
yeah.
This is your spoiler warning. If you've not finished the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, you may want to hold off on listening to these episodes and stick to our book clubs. With our book clubs, we stay where we're at or before. We don't jump ahead, except for the very, very tail end. We have a little spoiler section, but you're given ample warning, so you can leave those episodes and stay safe if you're meandering through book 5 right now. This would be an unwise episode to listen to, though. Just Who knows?
Yeah.
It's the way it usually works. And then if you want to find the podcast, we're on Apple Podcasting, so you could stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, or any podcasting service of your choice. If you could subscribe, rate, and review on any of those, we'd appreciate that. Then if you want to join live, like we've already mentioned, Brocky and Mike are here in the chat with us, or Peter. Peter counts too.
No, he doesn't count.
You can do that over here at youtube.com/DarkTowerPalaver. On the YouTube side, if you could like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. We've got to make sure the algorithm gods are happy. Otherwise, we will be, they'll gas the whole city like Blaine did. So,
Dad, come on.
can we not trust Google?
No.
Google would do that. They're evil.
That's what I'm saying. We don't trust him.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't anger them.
Yes. Make sure to feed the algorithm gods by liking and subscribing and ringing bell for notifications, all that fun stuff. We haven't. I think we're hopefully back on track of staying on schedule, so notifications should hopefully be fairly consistent. But whenever we have to change things up, those are always handy to have to know when an episode maybe changes its schedule. Next up, if you want to find the show notes, you can do that at darktowerpalaver.com. Everything I'm going to cover in this episode will be linked over there, so you can go read the full articles and all that kind of fun stuff, as well as the darktowerpalaver.com is the hub at the center of all things Dark Tower Palaver. There's links for basically everything that you could imagine over there. You can find it all over there, all the links and everything, as well as the questions for new listeners. If you are a new listener, you can definitely email the show. And one of the things that we've done is created a set of questions you could answer. One of them, all of them, anything in between, to introduce yourself as a new member of the extended content. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. Like I just mentioned, we did a hangout yesterday for that. We do monthly hangouts, and then you have access to our Discord server where you can jump in there and send Peter emojis, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's a wonderful thing. Also, Mike, chimed in with an emoji in the chat too. I love that. Always love emojis. It is funny though, because we're so far removed now from 2017 and the Dark Tower movie being delayed because the Emoji movie, but Peter's vendetta against emojis lives on.
Which is funny because I use them. I'm
who doesn't?
I'm not immune to it and everything, but
doesn't mean you like them.
Doesn't mean I like them. I feel dirty every time I use it. Send a thumbs up to someone and I'm just like, oh, I need a shower.
As long as you don't use the poop emoji.
I don't think I ever have.
I don't think I have either.
Not in like a serious manner. Like I was showing my daughter emojis, years ago, and I was like, look, they even have the poop one, and she's like, Dad. I got the classic, like long drawn out dad. And,
yeah. Then if you want to contact the show, Peter can let you know the ways to do that in terms of outside of the emoji conversation.
Best way to reach us is through email. It's show@darktowerpalaver.com. And then we have our social medias. We got Twitter. It's @DarkTowerPod. That's @DarkTowerPod. And then we got our Blue Sky. It's @darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. Check out our Facebook. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Instagram is Dark Tower Palaver, all one word, no spaces. And then we do have some merch available. It's tpublic.com/users/Dark Tower Palaver. Get yourself the lesser Dark Tower Palaver boring shirt like Tad's wearing.
No.
Or get yourself the truth. #Tad is terrible, like my sticker and my shirt say. I need a new shirt.
It's a lie.
No, I really do need a new shirt. This one's getting a little...
Your shirt and sticker are lies.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and also we just passed the anniversary of The Shining. That last picture is the July 4th, 1921 party. It's so funny.
You said that to us in our group chat, group text for everyone who goes and sees the movie crew. You sent that to us, didn't you?
Probably.
I think you did.
Yeah. It's funny because there's so many people that for some reason get confused and think it's a New Year's party. It's like, well, no, you can't get up there during New Year's. You'd be snowed in. So,
4th of July.
It is July 4th. I think there's even someone out there that has photoshopped it to say January or New Year's or something like that. So, but no, it is indeed the 4th of July. So we just crossed that 9 days ago. So, let's go ahead and jump on in. Sadly, we actually have some sad news to start in a pair of bad news things, unfortunately. The first one, Donald Sutherland passed away. I don't think that we talked about that last episode. I don't know if it happened yet. I think it happened shortly after our last episode, if I remember right. But even if we did cover it, I think we may have covered it on Geekery Abides Not Here. But I wanted to mention it because he is actually a King alum. One of his final movies was Mr. Harrigan's Phone in 2022. So yeah, obviously he's done a lot of cool genre stuff, including horror over the years. But he hadn't been a King. He had not been a King alum until 2022, but he had an awesome turn as Mr. Harrigan in Mr. Harrigan's Phone. And King tweeted saying, quote, sorry to hear Mr. Sutherland has died. He did a fine turn as Mr. Harrigan in Mr. Harrigan's Phone. A great actor. So, indeed, sad news. I think we did forget to cover it because I think we covered it in the other on Geekery Abides, because I think I remember mentioning MASH as being one of his more iconic roles. I mean, he has a million roles, but I think I forgot to mention it here. I think I just overlooked, Mr. Harrigan's Phones.
Because we don't do news with book clubs. So.
Oh, that's true. It was a book club, so never mind. I have nothing to apologize about. I guess then. So yes, Donald Sutherland.
Good night, sweet prince.
That is from the other show, but it works here as well.
It absolutely does.
So. And then, unfortunately, again, it does come in a pair because also Shelley Duvall passed away a few days ago. And yeah, I don't think there's any need to mention why we're talking about her in one of the most iconic horror movies of all time, and one that is loosely based on a Stephen King novel.
Loosely.
But yeah, Shelley, of course, played the wonderful Wendy Torrance in Kubrick's The Shining. King tweeted that as well and said, very sorry, Shelley Duvall has passed. Wonderful, talented, underused actor.
Yeah.
So, so indeed, I know it doesn't necessarily work as well, but on the other show, we use it universally for male or female.
Good night, sweet prince.
Princess.
Damn
it, Walter, why didn't you say princess as well? But yeah, sad news for sure. Baraki in the chat earlier said, also mentioned, I didn't see this, that I guess they've announced that she passed away due to complications of diabetes. So yeah, definitely sad to hear. Probably one of the more iconic actors in the King realm. Probably maybe the most iconic that's not a lead, right? Like outside of like lead character, like Annie Wilkes doesn't count because that's like the main part of the movie of the.
Are you talking character or actor?
Yeah, because I would say actor, like lead actor of the movie, because I think like Annie Wilkes, that's like a dual lead, right?
I mean, you got Morgan Freeman in Shawshank, so.
Yeah, but it's more, his voice is more iconic than his face.
I mean, it's still part of him, isn't it? I mean, that's the only one that really comes to mind. I mean, you got Tom Hanks, people like that, but Shelley Duvall is right up there with them.
I just saw an interview with I'm just blanked on his name, Hadley from Shawshank.
Yeah.
And he was being interviewed, and they asked him like, do you have any favorite scene from Shawshank? And he's like, yeah, anything that Morgan Freeman narrated. I'm like, that's fair.
That's the movie.
That's fair. Although I don't know. I guess there's a couple scenes with him that are narrated by Red. So I just, you get a lot more that's narrated when it's Red or Andy. But yeah, Hadley, I remember both beating up the sister was being narrated by Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, and then he had no problems with them going forward.
Yeah, and then the rooftop scene too. Yeah. After they get the beers given to them.
We all thought he was going to die. Stuff like that.
But yeah, definitely Shelley is definitely one of the most iconic for sure. She's up there.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And so rest in peace. Let's jump on over to I've got Flanagan's Corner. It is kind of a small one this time, and sadly not even necessarily Dark Tower related. Let me see, actually. Where did I... Oh my God, did I forget to put it in the slide? Let me check the odds and ends and see if I put it in there. I don't think I did. Let me see. I don't have the picture. Let me see if I've got something.
Uh-oh.
Do you want to
North Central Positronics is getting us again. This is what you get for calling out Google earlier. This right here is Google messing with you. You probably put it in there, and now they're just like, nope, we're going to take it back out. Like,
I think I could throw it in. Give me 1 second, because that's the cool thing with this new thing we're using.
I'm going to tease a little bit since I'm in charge right now. I do have a Flanagan topic to talk about in the Palaver. It's Flanagan related, and I gave it to Tad yesterday, and I'm like, hey, let's talk about this on the Hangout. And he said, no, that's too good. We got to do that on the actual episode. So that's coming later, and it does involve Flanagan. So
Yes. Let's see. Let me just drop that.
I need the Jeopardy button. I need
All
a
right.
Jeopardy button
so
for when this happens.
I don't have a title for this one, but the first one is they actually did release our first look at Tom Hiddleston.
Okay.
What is it? I just blanked on the name.
Charlie.
Life of Chuck.
Life of Chuck.
Life of Chuck. So, it's definitely an interesting look. Not one you were used to seeing with Tom Hiddleston.
He looks like a math teacher.
Yeah, like he definitely.
He looks like he's grading papers for a math class right now.
Yeah, and I love
maybe not math, maybe history.
Yeah, I think he definitely fits the accountant look.
Yeah.
And I also love like the way that they put this together because like the banner behind him doesn't like fully cover. So like above and to the left, like the banner isn't fully covering and there's just like blank white space.
Yeah.
But then his head goes above it, so it just looks shittily made, which
Yeah.
makes total sense because this would be like something like some paper pushing company would have put together for one of their employees. So so that
something out of The Office.
The
brown balloon birthday party comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly. So, that let me go ahead and flip that back over. And then the other part of Flanagan's corner, we actually have Flanagan. He was at South by Southwest, I think, down in Austin, Texas. And he was talking about Life of Chuck, and they were actually talking about the monologues, the famous, Mike Flanagan monologues.
Yeah.
And they were talking about it, and he talked about various things, and then he got around to Life of Chuck, and he says, I did a movie this past fall, and I'm very proud of it. It has a real doozy of a monologue in it that Mark Hamill delivers.
Yes.
Flanagan told the crowd, apparently it's a pretty lengthy speech and an impressive one at that. Then he goes on and says, quote, it's my favorite piece of acting I've ever seen from Mark Hamill. So
that's high praise.
That is high praise. And he says, and it's 4.5 minutes.
Ooh.
And he says, it's just yes.
Oh.
So we have
Can I know I'm not supposed to push too many buttons on this one, but
just hook it to my veins.
like, come on.
yeah, that is quite the tease for sure. I will be interested to see what that ends up being. I do know that Flanagan recently had an interview, or not, some sort of interview where he talked about The Exorcist, and he said that The Exorcist will not have a classic Mike Flanagan monologue. So he did say that one of his trademarks will not be in The Exorcist, which kind of makes sense. I couldn't imagine like the priest just like giving a 4-minute monologue to.
Oh no, I think we should.
I
think we shouldn't. It should start with the power of Christ compels you, and in nomine Patri et Filii Spiritus Sancti, and I cast you out, demon. Like, give me a 4-minute monologue of that. I'm there.
Yeah. They and I also think they've announced too that the Life of Chuck is going to be debuting at some festival. I don't know if we've really heard anything yet about it being purchased, but I'm pretty. I think it's highly likely that it'll get purchased and then released widely.
Yeah, this is in Amazon, right?
No, there's no. This is all independently done.
Yeah. That's why he was able to work on it during the strike.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, so that's awesome. And then next up, let's jump on into the mainline news. The first headline here is King reveals the title of his next book, and teases a return to the Talisman.
He's talked about that before, ever since the co-author passed away.
Peter Stroud passed away. So this is by Eric Vespi from Fangoria on July 10th, 2024. So King was actually once again a guest on the Talking Scared podcast. He's done that twice now. Actually, I originally wrote down that sadly I had not had a chance to listen to it yet. But there is this write-up here that we're going to cover. I have actually listened to most of it in some time I had today. I was able to listen to a chunk of it. In fact, I might be covering a little bit more later on. Something I heard in there. But okay. Eric states the obvious that King is always working and that we constant readers are glad to hear that, of course. I mean, we've mentioned a number of times on this show where we should definitely count ourselves lucky that, King is still alive and still writing, because this dude could have retired 10 years ago and, he's still one of the all-time legends. So
he's written stuff in 6 different decades.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So on the podcast, King was asked what he was working on next, and rather than being cagey, he just answered it straight up and said that he is still enamored with the character of Holly Gibney. And he says, quote, I thought to Yeah, so, and I actually heard this part. He says, I thought to myself, what's Holly doing now? What's Holly up to now? The first thing that came to mind isn't actually in the book, but I thought about the story about Lady Gaga's dog being kidnapped. And I thought this could be a case for Holly Gibney because Holly's dealt with dogs before, but it didn't work out. That story element didn't work out. But later on, it came to my mind that maybe Holly gets a job as a bodyguard for a woman who's a flashpoint in American politics.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. All you've got to do is add a stalker and stir. So
Okay.
and he says so that's at least what part of the book is about. And then he does also
Holly is a bodyguard. That's interesting.
yeah,
Holly is an investigator. Yeah. Holly is like a reporter. Like investigator really is only private investigator is the only thing I can kind of think of. But Holly is a bodyguard. That
yeah.
interesting.
What do you think, gun or happy slapper though?
Yes.
Both.
I mean the happy slapper has turned out to work 2-0 for her. So
Yeah. Now maybe she should just do a gun with a happy slapper on the end of it.
it's like a melee attachment.
But then he also revealed the title. The title of the book is going to be called Always Holly.
So we have Holly and Always Holly. So the Outsider, Holly, and Always Holly are we're gonna have a trilogy, Tad.
Yeah.
And then we
I mean,
even
if
have,
it bleeds,
and then if
too.
it bleeds is
Yeah.
is like a 1.5.
So I think we talked about this a few episodes ago, and maybe even before we were really like super like known about this next one. But Holly is his most prolific character, right? At this point, 3 Mr. Mercedes books, The Outsider, If It Bleeds, the Holly novel, and then now we've got another one being added to it.
I mean, that's only 7. Roland's got 8.
yeah.
Sisters of Illyria also has Roland.
Does it?
So-
but I guess I would say it doesn't count because he wrote the Dark Tower to be like this massive series. Holly is just kind of like was just supposed to be a side character in this one book, and then she's now evolved into this. Like it's just weird because King has come back to certain characters here and there, but like to this extent. Like even like Flag hasn't shown up this often and stuff like, you know, like I mean I actually don't know I don't know if we've ever heard was Mr. Mercedes originally intended to be multiple books, or was that just kind of a thing where he kind of dug the story and then decided to continue on with it?
I think it was always supposed to, if I remember right.
Okay, I don't recall on that, but it's just strange. I mean, of course, you know, like yeah, The Stand was like we always hear is like his like Americanized Lord of the Rings, but also we've heard Lord of the Rings referred to about the Dark Tower as well. So yes, of course, Roland, but still Roland's got to be sweating a little bit here because Holly is popping up.
A quick Google search has a quick correction for you, Ted. Randall Flagg is a fictional character created by American author Stephen King, who has appeared in at least 9 of his novels.
Yeah, does it have a list though? Because I'm trying to think of what he would all. I mean, of
that's
course,
just literally the first line that's on Wikipedia is where that's pulling that from. I can look further while you keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just interesting. And also the other thing, too, is Roland and Flag, some of the other heavy hitters, have done it over decades. Holly's done it over, what, about 12 years now? Was it 2012 for Mr. Mercedes? I have the extended count up, so it's still a condensed time period for sure. Let's see, Mr. Mercedes. Where is Mr. Mercedes? There it is. 2014.
2014.
So 10
10
years.
years.
Literally
A decade.
10 years. I was thinking it was 2012.
Yeah.
2012 is Went Through the Keyhole. That's what I'm conflating those dates. But yeah, to do all that in 10 years, to get into the realm where she's like almost in the same range as Roland, you know, within spitting distance there, that's nuts. And it just makes me wonder, you know, if he keeps going, is she going to pop up in like The Outsider where she's not even like a main part of the thing, but she just pops up elsewhere? I don't know. It's just wild. I love Holly. I know there's some readers are a little bit less infatuated with Holly, so they're maybe getting a little bit tired of her. But not me. I don't know where you stand on it, but I love her, and I'll take.
I love Holly. I'm down with more Holly. I loved the novel Holly. I can't wait to go back and reread it again. Actually, I was going to bring this up, and I was just waiting for a good time. While we were waiting for to go live, I went through and just I realized I had 10 credits sitting there on Audible, and I renew in December. It's like I got to buy something, right?
Yeah.
Or am I going to renew? That's the question. Also, it's like, do I want another 12 credits? Do I have 12 credits worth of stuff? I found out that I had only 6 things on my wish list, so I'm like, All right, what am I missing from King? So I went to the extended content list, and I was missing 8 things.
Yeah.
4 of them are on Audible, so I just went and bought all 4 of them. And the other 4 are not.
Yeah.
Well, one of them technically is, but it's bullshit. Nightmare and Dreamscape
Yeah.
is broken up into 3 volumes, so I have to spend 3 credits for a total of like 26 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that should just be 1. Put it all together and charge me 1.
Yeah.
And I would do it.
What were you missing? What did you buy?
Thinner.
Oh, that's a good one.
I have not read that. Just After Sunset, The Regulators, Thinner. Oh no, so I only bought 3.
Okay.
So
So
yeah.
you've read the other one, Desperation,
Yes, I read Desperation,
but not the Regulators.
but not The Regulators.
Interesting. All right.
It
Yeah,
was it was kind of interesting because it threw me off because it's the same characters but a different story
yeah.
with that one. So I was like, oh no, it's not a sequel. I don't care. I'm gonna go read something else, and I never circled back. So I might actually get Desperation.
As well as the Regulators is also a Bachman book too.
It is. Yeah.
He dusted the old Bachman name back off for that one. So,
According to Stephen King Wiki, it says the same thing, that he appears in 9 different things.
I'm just trying to think what those 9 are. Because that's a little bit more than I would have
The
anticipated.
Stand, Eyes of the Dragon, The Dark Tower.
I guess if you count all the Dark
you count the
Towers
different
separate,
Dark
yeah,
Towers that he appears in.
That makes it easier for sure.
So
Yeah, that okay, that makes sense then. Although I do want more Randall Flagg, of course.
yeah.
We need a full Randall Flagg book, I think. I still say, the Man in Black cover looks like the Metallica Black album, and just, like black text on a black cover, and make it just like, 6-8 short stories about Randall Flagg in different times and places, different existences.
He appears in 6 of the Dark Tower books, is what it says here.
That makes sense then, yeah. The problem is we always count the Dark Tower as 1. So it's like it's easy to just be like, oh, Dark Tower, and then the Stand and Eyes of the Dragon.
Yeah.
It's like, but
That's only 4.
That's 3 or 4. That's
yeah.
not 9.
Do you know? Do you want to take a guess which one he does not appear in? Which Dark Tower book does Randall Flagg not appear in?
He's not in Drawing of the 3 unless you count the skeleton.
It says that he is in Drawing of the 3.
Where? I don't think he is. Like there, of course,
there is a flashback where he appears.
Flashback. I don't know then, because he's in 3, he's in 4.
What it says here, Walter,
maybe 5 then.
5 he is not listed.
Yeah.
What it says for the Drawing of the 3, Walter does not physically appear in the second volume. I like that they call him Walter, though he briefly appears in a flashback when Roland recalls seeing 2 men named Thomas and Dennis pursuing a man named Flagg, who is almost certainly a demon.
Oh yeah. I remember that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a flashback
Okay.
that
And physically he appears. His bones are there. Well, his bones, right?
Yeah, we find out later that's not his bones.
Oh, what a rascal he is. So then the host asked King about the 3rd Talisman book, and King said that before Peter Straub passed away, they'd been in the early phases of developing the 3rd book, and King was rereading the Talisman right now and taking a lot of notes.
Oh.
So that's promising.
2026.
And then he says,
I'm calling it.
Then he
Talisman
says,
3, 2026.
Then he says, quote, I've got to read The Black House. That comes next. Peter sent me a letter, and I found some notes in it in my back files. He wanted to do a thing about a serial killer that was based on the Charles Starkweather in the 50s. Maybe something will happen. Maybe it won't. I never know. So, yeah, we'll have to see what comes of that. It does encourage me that he's actually like doing full on homework. This isn't just like he's jotting a few things down and thinking about it and going through whatever notes of Stroud, but like to go back and read and take notes on the Talisman, and then he's going to do the same thing for Black House. Kind of makes me think like the only way I feel that we don't get this book is as if after he goes through all that, he just doesn't feel like he's got enough there to actually write the book. That would be my only thought process of where we don't see it, right? Where at the end of all that work, he ends up just being like, there's not enough here, or it's not enough to excite him. Because I think that's the other big thing is with King, where at the age he's at now, I think whatever he writes, he's going to have to be passionate about.
Yeah,
like because he doesn't have as much time now as he did 30 years ago.
Exactly.
So it's just like I feel like there's like more of a shoot from the hip that he would have as a younger writer that he's not going to have now. He's got to be a little bit more meticulous with like what he chooses to write or not write, because hopefully he lives forever, but chances are that's not going to happen. So I would love another Talisman book, though. I really loved it. I think I might be one of the few people that actually enjoyed Black House a tiny bit more. I really loved Black House a lot. So and doing a serial killer, that would be fun.
Nothing wrong with that. Brocky says Talisman, Black House need a third so bad. One of my favorites.
Yeah, and I love both of them for sure. I'm just saying when I read them, I was really surprised that I ended up liking Black House more. Although I think I struggle with the very beginning of Black House quite a bit.
It's
like,
one of those ones that's hard to get into.
It was like the first, like, I don't know what it would be like. Probably if I listened to it, but it's like I'd probably say the first like 3 or 4 something pages, probably what it would have been. It was just like I just could not fucking connect, and I'm like, this has to be Straub. I don't know Straub. I don't want to like speak ill of him, but I'm just like I have never once had a King book that doesn't grab me from the beginning. Sometimes it peters out in the middle or toward the end where it's just like it just loses me. But King's usually pretty good about getting that hook in your jaw and then just fucking yanking you. And the fact that it took me a bit to actually like engage with that one, I'm like. Nothing against Straub. I just wonder if he wrote that first chunk and then King, whatever. So, because that's the other thing that weirds me out is they literally would just write a section, give it back to the other one. They write a section, they just went back and forth. Like
I thought that's what he did with his son.
That's what he did with Straub
as well.
So it's just like, because like to me, I still like it because I don't know what novel writing looks like, but I know what I imagine it looks like, and with a singular person, it kind of makes sense. But with 2 people, it's like, how do you like work together on a novel? And then when I read that, I'm like, what? But what if they do something in their section you don't like? Like, I just
talk.
It's just weird.
Talk it out.
It's just weird. So, and I think he probably did the same thing with his sons as well. So, and then next up, let me make sure I got the right slide. Queued up. The next one here, we have some news on the Institute.
Okay.
The Institute has nabbed a couple actors as well. It is, yes, it got its green light, and it has nabbed its first actors. It's been in development, but it is now full on moving forward. We as Dark Tower fans know quite well that being in development and having that green light, there's a massive difference there.
Yeah.
So the headline is The Institute, Ben Barnes and Mary Lou Parker to star in a series ordered by MGM Plus based on Stephen King's novel. This is by Nellie Andreeva from Deadline on June 13th, 2024. So MGM Plus, and I put in parentheses myself, formerly Epix, which is the service that we all saw Chapelwaite on. If any of us watched that, we watched it on Epix, unless you subscribed more recently. It would have been because they rebranded it to MGM Plus. And so Chapelwaite was on there, so it is not new to King. They have given a series order to the Institute based on the 2019 novel by Stephen King. Ben Barnes, which he is known for Shadow and Bones, as well as he was in all the Narnia movies, apparently. And then, Caspian, I think was his character's name.
He's also the bad guy in Punisher.
Oh yeah, I don't remember that movie very well.
No. Netflix. He's the best friend that betrayed him.
Oh, okay.
Jigsaw.
Don't remember that. Why do you recognize him from Narnia and then knew he was in that, or did you just look him up?
I just Googled him, and the first picture of him, I'm like, oh, that's the guy that gets his face messed up.
Oh, okay.
That's him.
And then so we also have Mary Lou Parker, and she was in Weeds, also in Red Dragon, that you and I are very familiar with.
Oh, is she the blind?
No, she's the wife. Edward Norton's wife.
Oh, okay.
And Will Graham's wife in Red Dragon. She was also in Mr. Mercedes. She played Janie Patterson in the Mr. Mercedes show. So
I still need to watch that. I watched I think the first half of the first season and then stopped.
Yeah, it's good.
But that was before it got put on Peacock. I think it's on Peacock now.
Yeah, it is.
So
it is. Which I will say, I kind of made a joke somewhere on social media about this, where it's like, oh, that's I'm really happy the Institute's moving forward, but it's a bummer it's on a service that nobody knows about. So I'm like, it's probably gonna be like Mr. Mercedes, where nobody's gonna see it until they move it to a legitimate streaming service.
Yeah.
Like it would probably be Prime because MGM belongs to Amazon. So at some point, hopefully it gets moved to Prime because I just don't know how many people have MGM Plus, let alone how many people even know it exists, let alone subscribe to it. So they are set to star, and then we previously covered that Jack Bender is running the show. It is slated to begin filming in Nova Scotia later this year. So not only does it have a green light, but it sounds like filming begins this year, which means
Nova Scotia. That's an interesting choice.
coming along quick. Yeah. I don't
That's
know.
that's not what I would have pictured for where the institute is.
Yeah, I wonder if parts of Nova Scotia can look like New England.
It is right above New England, so
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be eight episodes long, and of course we know that it tells the story of Luke Ellis, who is kidnapped and wakes up in the Institute, a facility of a bunch of kidnapped kids with special abilities. In a nearby town, a police officer, Tim Jameson, played by Barnes, has come to look for peace and quiet, but won't get it because he lives in a Stephen King story. That's my phrasing. In the article, they said like, oh, and that won't come to be because he's going to cross paths with Luke, obviously. But me, I'm like, that's not the reason.
No.
The reason is because he's, moving to a small town in a Stephen King novel.
you don't move to the Northeast if you expect peace and quiet and you're in a Stephen King universe.
I would say, okay, not in every Stephen King thing,
Yeah.
but I think if mathematically, if you're in a Stephen King thing, move to a big city. Move to New York, L.A., Chicago.
Move west.
Yeah,
that's all you have
yeah.
to do is move west.
Yeah.
Go to Texas. Well, 11/22/63. All right.
Not Dallas.
Move to Colorado.
Move to Austin. Well, Colorado. You got to be careful which parts of Colorado.
That's true.
Go to Denver. Don't go
Denver.
too far up into the mountains. And
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, small towns and King don't get along. Now, yes, if you're in the stand, you're fucked no matter what. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that as so many of these stories are small things. I also saw something about Midnight Mass where they were talking to Flanagan about Midnight Mass, and he actually talked about Storm of the Century being one of his inspirations for Midnight
Makes
Mass.
sense.
Which does. It makes sense totally. We've all been calling Midnight Mass since it debuted. It's a Stephen King adaptation that just didn't happen to have a book.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it when I was reading that, when I was doing the prep. I didn't end up covering it for the thing, but I remember thinking it where it's just like, King in small towns, that's not good.
Go
That's-
move to Chicago.
Yeah,
New Orleans.
Go move somewhere big.
Yeah.
Um,
Nashville.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like those places, unless it's like the stand where something crazy is going on for the whole world. But
No.
it's like then you're not safe anywhere. But if it's like vampires or like trans-dimensional creatures that feed on children, like they always end up in small towns. They never like you don't see Pennywise landing in Chicago.
Oh man, imagine.
Can
if
you
he had.
imagine if he did? Yeah. I mean, there was the Great Chicago Fire, so maybe there is.
Maybe there
something
is a Pennywise or two living in places like that.
That's true. What's the other big cities that have was it?
San Francisco got hit by a huge
The
earthquake
big
back in
earthquake.
like what is it, like 1910? Or
Wasn't there
something?
another city that burned a lot though? Like
I
had
don't
a,
remember.
had a huge fire.
I mean, what is it? Cleveland, the river catches on fire like every other fucking year, doesn't it?
Nah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was thinking there was
I mean,
another
Washington D.C. was burned a couple times, so.
too soon.
Mike says Stephen King convinced me that Maine is supernatural.
Yes, I would, and Maine specifically. Like,
Yeah.
stay away from small towns, but especially stay away from Maine. And I would say I wouldn't even go near New England.
The problem with Maine is that there is nothing but small towns. I mean, like,
Exactly.
what's their biggest town? Portland?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, but I would say I would just give it a wide berth and just avoid all of New England altogether. I would even stretch into New York. I mean, I hear that bricks.
Jesus Christ, the largest town in Maine is Portland, has a population of 68,000. That's smaller than an American football stadium.
Yeah.
Majority of American football stadiums hold about 60 to 70,000.
Let's talk about how it lines up to college football stadiums.
Oh, God. Some of the biggest in the world.
Yeah, ones that have 100,000.
Yeah.
Seat 100,000 and shit.
I had that conversation with my dad not 2 months ago about what the biggest stadium capacity was. And we were shocked to learn that it was a college football
It
stadium
is,
here in
yeah.
America.
I think if you look at like the top 10.
And they do it like 8 times a year they sell that out. That's 800,000 people
Yeah.
attending a football game at that stadium
Yeah.
in the span of 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good Lord.
That's got to be good for the economy.
In this economy?
So he is playing the cop, and then Mary Lou Parker is going to be playing Ms. Sigsby, the charming but iron-willed director of the Institute and a true believer in their mission. So that's an interesting casting, because that's my first thought when they had these two announced. I'm like, those are both adults. Like,
Yeah.
are we not going to get like
Are
Luke?
they not doing kids?
Are they not going to have Luke cast first?
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense. The cop's a big part.
You gotta wait until the very end to cast the kid because you know how fast they grow.
Yeah, no shit. So then King says, quote, "I'm delighted and excited at the prospects of the Institute. With the high-intensity suspense being filmed as a series, the combination of Jack Bender and Ben Cavill guarantees the results will be terrific." And then Michael Wright, the head of MGM Plus, says, "We are thrilled to have the opportunity to work again with Stephen King and the Institute based on his critically acclaimed novel. It's an exciting addition to MGM Plus original series slate. There is no creative team I would trust more than this book. Let's see. I would trust more to bring the book to life than Jack and Ben, whose creative vision and love of Mr. King's voice will bring this thought-provoking and gut-wrenching story to life in the engaging, cinematic, and thrilling style the MGM Plus viewers expect. All 12 of them.
Tad over here taking shots at every kind of technology out there.
Bender has a long history of Stephen King's work, including Under the Dome,
Ugh.
Mr. Mercedes,
Okay.
The Outsider.
Ooh, 2 out of 3.
Yeah, he's. It's funny because I actually did see some people that were shitting on this when this got announced on like Reddit or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, this is the guy behind Under the Dome," and I'm like, "He did The Outsider."
Which was
Like,
so
tell
good.
me anything in the last like 5 to 8 years that's been better than that. Like, because like there's been a couple good things, but like I think that's like a fucking crown jewel of the King adaptations.
really good.
So it's like, and not to mention I love Mr. Mercedes. So it's like, you know, I don't know. I don't like to blame these creative folks because a lot of times there's other people involved, maybe
We know this.
above their
know-
pay scale.
We've seen this before.
They get their little grubby fingers in things. So
That
yeah,
doesn't make any sense. Why would he have a horse? Get rid of the horse. It's like,
yeah.
he's a cowboy, sir.
Yeah.
No, get rid of the horse. Give him a car.
So Bender says, "I'm thrilled that Stephen King has entrusted me with another of his brilliant novels and continuing the extraordinary creative relationship with Michael Wright and MGM Plus, working alongside Ben Cavill and the team of exceptional writers to tell the story of his uniquely gifted children will ensure a suspenseful and engrossing series." So yeah, I don't know. I was mixed when I first heard it because again, MGM Plus bummed me out. I was hoping this would be a little bit more mainstream streaming service. But I mean, I don't know. There's a pretty good pedigree. Those are 2 good actors. We got a good showrunner, writer. I don't know. I necessarily can't. I mean, Chapelwaite is pretty well regarded too. So it's
Is
like
it?
Epix. Epix. I think the last time I looked on IMDb, I think it had like a 7.6. And I always tell people whenever it's horror, I almost always add an extra point to it because it just seems like there's people that downvote the fuck out of horror stuff because they just don't get it. So that, yeah, I'd say that makes it pretty good. I've never heard anything bad about it. I've started that show, but I never finished it. I need to give it a finish. But I just feel like all the pieces are in place for sure. What do you think? What are your?
I'm excited for it. Like,
Yeah.
let's do it. Are we up? It looks like we're spinning.
No,
on my
it's-
side.
it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's showing fine. Yeah, all right. So the Institute coming along. Very interesting. Let's move on to the next one here. This one is The Long Walk has found its lead actors. So Stephen King's The Long Walk movie has found its lead actors, and this is by Ryan Scott from Fangoria on June 11th, 2024. So after years of developmental hell, including a lot of iconic people such as George Romero, Frank Darabont, have both tried and failed at this. Andre Overdahl was the most recent one. We've covered his attempts at doing this on this show, but now we finally have it emerging out of developmental hell, and it is making some real progress. And it will be hitting the screens sooner than we probably think. Ever since Lionsgate got their hands, it seems like it's actually been fast tracked. If the reporting had been correct, they're filming as we speak now. So that's pretty cool. So Cooper Hoffman, he is pretty much known for Licorice Pizza, that came out last year or the year before. Outside of that, though, he doesn't have many roles so far, but he is seen as a huge up and comer. Along with this, in terms of his upcoming realm, there's a movie that's being developed on SNL, showing the creation of the show. It's a movie. It'll be a dramatic movie, but just showing like what did it take to get SNL made, and then that first show shot is
Yeah.
how I've heard it. He's going to be playing Dick Ebersol, the head of NBC, on that show or on that movie. So there's that. But also he also comes from good stock, as his father is the legendary Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh.
Which now you've heard that. Look at his picture and tell me that you can't see it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he
I was gonna say this dude looks really familiar.
he looks so familiar. And then David Johnson, and he spells it strange. He has 2 S's and no H in there, so it's John Sisson. I you know what? I'm not going to talk shit because the H makes no sense. So,
John
Johnson. I mean, it's
John.
yeah, Jon makes more sense than John.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, if you say so.
Silent letters are the devil.
I have a silent letter in my name. How dare you?
Peter?
No, Steele.
So he is from Murder is Easy and then Rye Lane. He is also he's also an up and comer with not a lot of mainstream stuff, but he is going to be starring in Alien Romulus coming up in a few
dude,
months.
I can't wait for
So
that.
yeah, looking forward to that.
What was his name?
David Johnson, JonSson. Again, I have no problem with the way he spells it. I'm just saying it's different than you normally see Johnson spelled. So we've covered the casting for more of the supporting or background folks. We've actually covered the casting call for the extras and supporting cast.
Yeah.
So we kind of know and if the rumors were true, it started shooting last month. So they're filming now. Now that it's actually, of course, filming, I speculated last time that we'd actually have to hear about lead casting soon. Otherwise, it'd just get leaked because you'd see actors showing up to these sets that whatever. But then my only other bit of speculation here is I have to wonder if more castings are coming in the coming months, because even here, both these guys are more up and comers. They certainly, I feel they have to bring a big name or two on, right, to draw people into the movie.
Yeah.
So even if it's like a smaller role, like a one of the guards or a parent of someone, it doesn't have to be like an A-list Brad Pitt, but like someone where people are like, oh yeah, I kind of know that guy.
Yeah.
I feel like you've got to have some of those guys or girls brought into the movie somewhere, because right now, good up and comers, this might be something that 10 years from now you look back and go, holy shit, look at some of these big stars that were in this Stephen King movie back in 2024. Probably comes out in 2025 or so, but I have a feeling that we'll probably hear some more castings and maybe actually some names that we know, like David Dasmalian. Like that's like a name, like he's not like he's becoming a leading star, but he's one that you could maybe bring in as like one of the guards or something, and that'd bring people like, oh, I know that guy, I'll go see that type thing. So that's my last bit of speculation on it. I have a feeling that we'll have to see some more. Not to mention we got to fill it out there. We only got 2 walkers that we know of so far. So next up, Peter will be very happy about this. We're going to be talking some monkey.
Yes.
Action. So the monkey, this headline, the monkey, Osgood Perkins previews his Fun for the Family Stephen King movie. So
Fun for the family. Yeah, sure.
So this is by John Squires from Bloody Disgusting on June 20th, 2024. So John points out that 3 horror powerhouses are converging on this movie, The Monkey. Stephen King obviously wrote the story. James Wan is producing. And then Osgood Perkins is kind of becoming a pretty big name in horror right now. He has a little movie called Long Legs in theaters as we speak.
Saw it last night.
I did indeed. Very well done, too. He also mentions that it is likely The Monkey gets a release date in 2025, but it does not, as of right now, have a release date. The article mentions Perkins, the director of Long Legs, but he is also from horror royalty. I actually found this reading up on him after the movie last night. This wasn't even in the article. He's also from royalty. He is the son of a little-known actor named Anthony Perkins.
Oh, is that all?
Of course, most known as Norman Bates in Psycho.
Yep.
He's done a lot of stuff, but for horror, it's probably the most iconic slasher of all time, right? Because he's the father of the slasher.
Yeah,
like that's the birth of the slasher.
He's the grandpapa.
Yeah, he's the one that kind of. I mean,
wait, is it grandpapa or grandma?
Yes. Or great grandma.
Great grandma.
Because if
it's mother.
If he's grandpa, then it's great grandma.
Because
his mom too.
Yeah, he's grandpa, so great grandma. So he played. And
I will say, him staring into the camera at the end of Psycho is
unsettling,
chilling as fuck. Yeah,
every time
it really is. Yeah. So
here we are. What, like 80 years later, and it's still
80 years. Come on.
60s.
1960. 80 years is
sorry,
like 40s.
60 years. Sorry.
It's like,
I exaggerated just a little bit, Tad. A little bit. It's not like I said it was, back in the 1840s or something.
well, we just hit the 80 years of D-Day, so like we're not even through the 40s 80 years ago yet. We haven't even finished the war 80 years ago yet. So
close.
Perkins was asked what to expect from the monkey, and he says it's going to feel more like Misery or Creepshow or Gremlins or American Werewolf. He says it couldn't be less like Longlegs. So I do think he's almost right now starting to like make sure people are aware. Don't expect a follow-up to Longlegs with this, because they're very different movies. He says, to me, if you're going to make a movie about a toy monkey, you can't be serious about it. He says, but so much of King is funny and nostalgic feeling. So we're trying to make a movie that felt a little bit more like something from the late 80s or 90s. He says, it's sort of like if Robert Zemeckis had just had a little bit of acid and made a Stephen King movie back about a monkey toy.
Interesting.
So that is a very interesting way. He says, for me, ideally, the movie, this is a movie that kids and their parents will want to go see together. He says, people blow up. People explode. It's very extreme, but it's very funny. It's their father-son redemption. It's very touching. It's very nostalgic. It's very Stephen King. So I don't think people exploded in the book. They died when the monkey clapped its cymbals. Mm-hmm. But he's talking like they're going to pop.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Which could both be grotesque and gory, but also hilarious too.
Yeah.
He says
interesting that we're doing a little bit more like family comedy than that story's chilling. It's like
it is
creepy and eerie, and we're kind of taking that in a different direction. It sounds like.
No, I think that it'll still be creepy, but I think that I think like he kind of just said though, is he says like whenever you're making a movie about a toy, you can't really take it too serious. Like, because I think there's always those things where it's like, there's certain things that like I try to think Meg. The Meg movies, like those ones, like they walk that line perfectly of like, yeah, there's scary elements, but we're also not going to like take it as serious as like Jaws did, because like you just can't.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain ones you can't, and I think that he's going to walk a line here where it's like it's certainly going to be horror. I mean, the guy, I don't think he's made a movie that hasn't been horror. So I just think that there's going to be a little bit more of a I don't know, like he's saying, like it's going to feel like an 80s or 90s horror movie, which
right, and that's what I'm saying is like I don't think of Gremlins as that. What I was picturing what the monkey's going to be.
Well, that was one. Misery, Creepshow, Gremlins, and American Werewolf in London. Those are that's a wide array, and I think that's why he's like almost doing like a vibe thing where it's like,
well, even like
a Venn diagram of these movies, and like somewhere in the center of all these is like, so it's like I think you'll get some humor like Gremlins, but I think like Creepshow, like there's a little bit of humor there, but there's also elements that are like, that's fucking unsettling.
Again, not the scariest film. That's what I'm saying is like. It doesn't seem like we're going for, and he's making perfectly clear that it's not like Longlegs.
Yeah.
So it's family oriented, and when you go family oriented, you don't necessarily.
Yeah, I
don't know.
I think family oriented. I think is I think like the headline is certainly not what he's saying. I do think it'll be one that he's trying to say is more approachable to the whole family. But I would also say like a person like him could also say the same thing. Like Poltergeist is a family friendly horror movie, but it's like,
yeah, but kids didn't ask their parents to go see it unless they were sick and twisted like you. So
I don't know. That's widely regarded as one of the most kid, like, or what would you call it? Almost like, what's the gateway drug that they used to tell us about? Like that's like
marijuana.
That's a gateway drug for like a whole horde of people that were like in the 80s and 90s era of kids, where that was just like the one where it was like, well, this isn't as scary as like some heinous Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So yeah, Billy, we'll go see this with you.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like that's what it sounds like we're getting from the monkey, and that's just not what I expected.
Yeah, and he says the fact that I've had the seal of approval from the top, given the fact that I've really invented new things, is exciting. The success that we've had with Longlegs has been astonishing, and The Monkey being a completely different movie in every possible way is really exciting to me, and it's going to be fun to see what happens. Because that's the other thing, too, is with Longlegs, like, it doesn't really give you a lot in the trailers, but I would say, like, vibe-wise, like, it feels like almost Silence of the Lambs-ish. Like the trailer shows enough where it's like FBI agent hunting a serial killer.
I still haven't watched the trailer.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there's no spoilers to say that. It's just, but I would say it's kind of on the grimmer side of like serial killer and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I do think this is certainly going to be different. But yeah, the film is starring Theo James, Tatiana Maslany, Elijah Wood, Sarah Levy. Perkins is not only directing, but he wrote it. I don't know why, but I've actually lost that. If we've covered that before, that slipped from my brain. I thought it was written by someone else. So the fact that he wrote it and directed it is pretty cool. And then it's, of course, in The Monkey, when twin brothers Hal and Bill discover their father's old monkey toy in the attic, a series of gruesome deaths start to occur all around them. And that's what makes me think, if you're talking like people are going to be fucking exploding like The Boys.
Yeah.
The brother decided to throw the monkey away and move on with their lives, growing apart over the years. But mysterious deaths begin again. The brothers must reunite to find a way to destroy the monkey for good before it takes the lives of everyone close to them. So, I would say, let's not. I would think that this is probably still, because he's a horror guy, and so I think it probably won't be as extreme as some other stuff, but I bet you there will be people that may go to this, especially if they market it like a little bit more family friendly. I think there will be people walking out going, "What the fuck were you people doing? Like, this is a family." What was the animatronic one that just came out too?
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, that one was portrayed more too, where it's fun for the whole family. Everyone can go. It's you don't have to be 17 to go see this movie. So they try to make that another gateway movie for horror movies, and I don't know if it'll be like that, or I don't know, we'll see, but I'm intrigued. But yeah, I also wonder with the success, we don't know yet, but it does seem like Longlegs is doing well. The theater I went to last night was actually jam-packed. It's one of the fullest theaters I've seen since COVID, outside of maybe a Marvel movie. So I have a feeling we're going to get some good box office returns, so I wonder if that's going to kind of get them to fast track this. That's the article speculated. It's probably going to get released next year. So that'll be good, because once a guy hits a big hit like that, they're like, do what you want. Here's your check.
Here's your blank check. Fill in the amount.
Do it, and maybe they'll meddle less, right?
Yeah.
When a guy does good, usually that's when people back off and stop trying to stick their fingers in.
Baraki says, fun for the entire, and then in parentheses, Adams family.
I mean, I say all horror movies are family oriented.
No, they're not. And you would be wrong.
Oh, I disagree. Next up, this one is tangentially connected, but it mentions Welcome to Derry. So Harry Potter and Welcome to Derry moving from HBO or from Max to HBO is part of a big budget streaming strategy rethink. This is by Peter White from Deadline, June 25th, 2025. So the article opens by saying not to expect any big budget tentpole scripted series to originate with Max anymore. And it doesn't really, I don't think I really grabbed it in the notes, but this also includes DC. Pretty much it sounds like anything that's going to be big budget, they're wanting to move under the HBO brand rather than Max. Warner Brothers is changing its strategy when it comes to big budget stuff like Harry Potter and Welcome to Derry. Those are the two main ones it's talked about. The shows are moving from being Max productions to HBO productions. And then we have a quote from, Blois. I don't know how you say his name. One of the top honchos for HBO Max says, "We felt like we had to delineate between HBO shows and Max shows. The idea of using Warner Brothers IP as a delineation for Max felt right. At least that gives you a clear lane. But we started to produce these shows, and we were using the same methods, the same kinds of thinking and how we would approach HBO shows. In a lot of cases, the same talents that worked on shows for HBO were working for us for Max. We ended up with what we ended up with is shows with scope and scale that looked great, had great narratives, great talent that we were working with, and the idea of the delineation kind of started to feel unnecessary. Why are we doing this? Let's just call them what they are. They're HBO shows. So the change goes into effect in 2025. So the Penguin and Dune Prophecy are still going to be called Max titles because those come out this year. But starting in 2025, anything that's big, you're going to see it under the HBO. Doesn't make any difference for most of us viewers. It's still going to be on the Max app.
Right.
But it's I think they're really also trying to make sure that Max stuff and HBO stuff on the app look different. I think kind of like Disney's doing with Hulu. I think they want to make it clear that an HBO thing is an HBO thing and a Max thing is a Max thing. And as part of that,
trying to protect the HBO name a little bit is what it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. And as part of that, a lot of the bigger stuff is going to move out of the Max, move into HBO, which can't be a bad thing for Welcome to Derry or if Dark Tower were to end up at HBO.
Exactly.
That was the main reason I wanted to cover is because, of course, HBO is number 2 on our list for most.
Number 1 for me.
Yeah.
HBO is still number 1 for me. Don't get me wrong. I don't have anything. Well, I do have one thing against Prime, but
Okay, I guess hope-wise, yeah, because HBO is certainly a different strategy. I would say my speculation is, though, Amazon's my first pick. I do believe it's going to end up on Amazon. I would also put Apple in there, Apple, HBO, and I think Amazon makes the most sense. Those are the top three. Everything beyond that is a little bit less desirable in my mind, but those are like the top three for me.
I would want to avoid Netflix at all costs. I would prefer Peacock or Paramount Plus over Netflix.
Yes. Although it sounds like Paramount Plus might be dissolving and getting eaten up by another streamer.
Oh, boy.
So
here we go. Someone's going to absorb it and then hike their prices.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, so next up we've got a fun one that you'll enjoy. 10 Stephen King book moments from the HBO that HBO's Pennywise prequel can reference that the It movies left out.
Okay.
So this is by Danny Kessel Odom from Screen Rant on July 1st, 2024. The article recaps at Welcome to Derry.
That the It movies left out.
Yes.
So
this
I thought
is
you said book.
No, this is It stuff that the from the book that the movies never touched. So the article recaps at Welcome to Derry set in the 60s.
Can I make some guesses?
Yeah, give me 1 second. And then without the Losers Club being here tying the story down, and I don't think the writer means that in a derisive way, but with the Losers Club you are kind of restricted with what you can really cover.
I get it.
And here are some things that HBO can tackle of things that they left out of the two films. So there is 10 of them. What guesses do you have?
All right. So we got. I'm going to write them down to see it so we don't forget them. We got the Bradley Gang.
Okay.
Fire at the Black Spot.
Okay.
Kitchener Ironworks.
Okay. Also, it's fun to have Pennywise on the screen, isn't
Slaughter at the Silver Dollar.
it? David says orgy.
Good Lord, no.
Oh. The I know, of course, knowing that you're a huge fan of it, I knew that this would be one that.
Those are just ones that I know Mike did with like the lore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this isn't just like. This is the history of Derry, so we're not going to see anything during the 50s or the 80s, most likely.
Well, 80s or 2000s, right? Because it's based in the movie universe.
Yeah. So it's based, so 80s, sorry. So 80s and 2000s. So they actually could invent something for the 50s.
Yeah.
For another cycle there that doesn't exist in the book. Those are my four guesses: the Bradley Gang, Fire at the Black Spot, Kitchener Ironworks, and Slaughter at the Silver Dollar.
Okay. So we'll jump right in here. Number 10, it's actually on the screen, I guess. I didn't realize it. Number 10 is the Maturin Turtle. Maturin the Turtle, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
One important character from the Stephen King's It book that was the movie left out is Maturin the Turtle. I will say there's a good reference to Maturin in the Wait, 2. Isn't there a Lego turtle early in the movie? And then they find the turtle in the water that we never see on screen. At one point at one of their houses, isn't there a turtle Lego?
It's been too long for me to
I feel like there was
say that.
I feel like there was 2 references to Maturin, but yeah, it certainly wasn't in there.
I know there's is it the It movies that has the turtle at the beginning, like in the opening credits?
I don't remember that. I thought it was just the Lego, and then when they're like, "Oh, what is it under the water? Oh, it's a turtle," but they never even pull it up.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to get the animal wranglers and actually get a turtle on set.
Baraki says, do they do the standpipe in the movie? I don't think they've ever done the standpipe. That's what we were talking about that on the Hangout yesterday.
Yeah.
With old Stan the Man.
Yeah. So the cosmic being lived in the macroverse and vomited out the mainstream universe when he had a stomach ache. Maturin and Ed are known as known adversaries who both came from the macroverse void, leading the turtle to assist the Losers Club as the kids assist the Losers Club as kids in taking down their enemy. While the Losers Club won't appear in Welcome to Derry, the series could still introduce the cosmic being and his conflict with it. This would help the world building and expand the lore, providing background on the monster It's origin. Maturin could try to intervene with his enemy's inevitable murder spree. This could also help connect Welcome to Derry with the upcoming Dark Tower series. Maturin is one of the guardians of the beam and that upholds the Dark Tower. So...
We're just going to casually drop the upcoming Dark Tower series and not talk about that at all? Like, excuse me, Danny, do you have some information you want to share with the class?
David says 7 losers, 1
Yeah,
cup.
I saw that. I wasn't going to read it.
I'm going to.
Disgusting.
Oh, I love the spirit of it.
Baraki confirms there was a Lego turtle that gets dropped and it shatters.
That's what I thought, and I was like,
Is that in Bill's room?
I was like, it gets broken. I couldn't remember if somebody dropped it or somebody steps on it, but it's like I remember there being because I remember there was even some of those goddamn nerds, fucking insufferable nerds that was like, this is incorrect. There wasn't green Legos of this shade in 19.
Oh gosh.
They didn't make that shade of green until 1997 or whatever.
It's not our universe.
I'm only making fun because we're that kind of nerd. I mean, not in I don't think we ever do it in like a way of like, oh my God, how dare they? But we usually do it joking where it's like, come on now.
Yeah, we could have done that a little bit. Like the one that got me more recently was it Andor that Star Wars fans got all pissed off because someone called it concrete?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It's Duraconcrete.
I can't remember if it was Andor or something else where someone was bitching about a zipper.
Yeah.
And I remember like chiming in on one comment thread where I'm like, have y'all seen Empire Strikes Back? When Luke's putting his jumpsuit on, zips up his jumpsuit. Like zippers have been in Star Wars since 1980.
Yeah.
So David also says, thank you, bad guy from Mortal Kombat. Yes, because you played the Goro.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, no, he was thanking Goro.
Oh, well, I don't get thanked.
Yeah, and then Baraki says it was Georgie's toy. Bill had it, and when he gets startled by Georgie's ghost, he drops it.
Oh,
Okay,
that's what it is.
I was
Okay.
kind of thinking it was Bill, but I didn't have. It wasn't hard enough
Lord.
it wasn't like solid enough in my memory for me to actually say it. But I was like, I swear to God, I remember there being a turtle, and I thought I remember it being broken. I'm like, I don't remember if it was dropped or somebody stepped on it, but.
Because me and you both did the Leonardo DiCaprio in the theater.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so then number 9 is The Fire at the Black Spot.
Called it.
So one of the most obvious book moments to include in Welcome to Derry is The Fire at the Black Spot, a nightclub started by Mike Hamlin's dad. That's a safe place for black soldiers. The club is destroyed by white supremacist group called the Main Legion of White Decency. This event in King's book is important because the burning of the Black Spot, along with Adrian Mellon's murder, show how it usually uses real life evils like racism and homophobia to create fear on which he feeds. The 2017 It movie briefly alludes to the event, but it never delves into it further than a small reference. In the movie, the Black Spot is burned down in 1962. HBO's Welcome to Derry is set in the 1960s, so it makes sense to have at least a mention, if not full-on show, this event. This would connect to the series, to the civil rights movement, which was happening in the United States during this period. So, yeah, I actually think that makes a lot of sense, especially the 60s. Like, that all falls perfectly.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
that one makes a lot of sense.
Baraki is saying that he thinks that the smoke hole scene and the vision of the origin of Pennywise, like Pennywise crashing on Earth, is one that he's predicting is going to be on this list.
Oh, okay.
And then David says, so in Braille, every letter can stand for a word. The letter X is actually the letter that stands for the word it. So when I picture the title of that book, I always picture the letter X.
That's not a bad visual, too. X would be a pretty good thing to signify.
X marks the spot. Stay the fuck away.
Or X over the eyes for all the kids.
It's stereo. Oh, God. What have you turned me into?
Only what you had in you.
I am what you made me.
All right, next up, let me make sure I got the right slide, is the Bradley gang shooting. Number 8. So if HBO's Welcome to Derry chooses to include the burning of the Black Spot, the show could also include the shooting of the Bradley gang. The other thing I'll pause real quick to say is they keep saying it's set in the 60s, and I know that's what they've said, but they've also said that it's going to delve into the origins of Pennywise. So I have a feeling that this is going to have to go well beyond the 1960s.
Yes.
This is going to have to delve into ago and the 1700s and stuff. So I just want to mention that because I know that's probably my biggest question mark now, especially now that Skarsgård's aboard, is like, how are we delving with Pennywise's origins in the 1960s? Like, it's got to be like, that'll be our setting, but then we're going to have someone Mike Hanlon it and go back and look at and see the history, and maybe we'll actually even see flashes to show like some of these events that happened throughout the hundreds of thousands of years. So whenever it awakens, it goes into hibernation. A violent event occurs in Derry, Maine. The shooting and murder of the Bradley gang was the event that awakened it less than a year before the Black Spot fire. The residents of Derry assembled and ambushed the Bradley gang, a group of bandits who stopped in town to buy ammo. The town murders them and just pretends that nothing happened. This is recounted by Mike by Norbert Keene, the owner of the drugstore who witnessed the event and saw it, which he capitalizes it there. So I don't know if he's meaning he saw the killing or if he saw it during the event.
Saw Pennywise.
Okay.
Pennywise. We talked about this yesterday on the Hangout. Pennywise is there because we see him. Did you see anyone there that you shouldn't recognize? Oh, you mean the clown?
Yeah, that's
What?
right.
Yeah, and he talks to other people, and there's like 5 different clowns that are seen throughout the shootout in different places using different guns with different makeup and everything.
Can you
like
imagine what Mr. Muschietti can do with that visually on screen? You just see like a very chaotic, quick cuts, like of like all the different crowds, but like just mixed in as like a pom-pom, a poofy
it
hair.
reminds me of Batman Arkham Knight. Spoiler: Batman gets injected with fear toxin from Scarecrow, and he starts hallucinating as the game progresses. If you're paying attention, statues, billboards, and even criminals will morph into the Joker.
Yeah.
I have a clip of one that I can send to you and have you post it and everything like that if we wanted to. But literally, I'm just driving in the Batmobile, and there's 3 criminals, and they all dive out of the way. And one of them is the fucking purple-suited Joker.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. It's just like, clown, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm going to picture is like, we're going to have like, one guy's going to be like, oh God, I'm hit, because there's the one guy that yells, I'm killed, but he caught like a ricochet.
Yeah.
Like Winters in Band of Brothers. He's like, I'm killed.
Yeah.
And I just see someone laughing at him, and it it pans over. It's just a full fucking clown.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. So if HBO makes Welcome to Derry, or if HBO's Welcome to Derry wants to connect to the 2 events like they are in the book, they'll need to move the Bradley Gang shooting into the 1960s. Alternatively, they can keep the event, or alternatively, they can keep the event in 1929 and reference it as something historical that occurred in the town. Which again, I still think that's what they're going to have to do. I think this is going to be our home base for this show is going to be in the 60s. Is my speculation.
Well, we're going to see different cycles.
But we're going to go through and see potentially tens of thousands of years. Like if we're going to go back to the landing of it, like you're talking a long time ago.
You're talking millions of years because they see a fucking dinosaur.
Yeah.
So.
Number 7. Make sure I've got it up here. Number 7, the Axe Murderers at the Silver Dollar.
Yep, I'm 3. I got 3 out of my 4 so far.
An interesting event that HBO's Welcome to Derry could include is the Axe Murders committed by Claude Haro at the Silver Dollar Bar in September 1905. Haro's 3 friends were murdered, presumably under the influence of it, though it isn't confirmed, while trying to organize a union. Haro was the only person to survive the attack. He became distant, angry, and set multiple fires. Months later, he went to the Silver Dollar and hacked 5 men to pieces with a wooden double-bitted axe. Haro didn't try to leave or resist arrest. Moreover, none of the patrons reacted to the brutal murders, continuing on with their usual activities. The only unknown person recognized in the bar was Pennywise the Dancing Clown, implying that Pennywise was involved in the incident. The Axe Murders might not be the right time period to appear in Welcome to Derry, but the show can always reference it to establish Derry's dark history.
Yeah.
So.
And one thing that this Danny didn't mention here is that they fucking lynch him, too. Claude.
Yeah.
They get together with a fucking lynch mob. They drag him out of the fucking jail and they string him up from a tree.
Yeah.
So that's just one more thing. If you're going to have a clown showing up in a large crowd, that's where you have him show up, is with the lynch mob too.
Yeah.
Not even, you still have him at the bar. It's a crowded bar. People, they said it was a busy night, loud and everything like that, and no one reacts.
Yeah.
So
also, can I just say how much I can't wait to see Billy back in the role.
Oh, I know.
And just eating the scenery, because
Yeah.
he just does so well in this role that, like, to give him this much more to spread his legs is going to be wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Watch him just sitting there at the bar waving a little kid's hand again.
Number 6, the Battle of Wills. So the ritual of Chud in It Chapter 2 looks vastly different from what is shown in the book. The ritual in Stephen King's novel involves it and the opposing person biting down on each other's tongues. The enemies of it then use jokes and the power of belief to attack the monster. Ultimately, this battle comes down to humor and imagination versus hatred and evil. Admittedly, the change in the ritual of Chud makes some sense. The concept of biting down on tongues wouldn't translate well to screen because it's even challenging to imagine while reading. However, HBO's Welcome to Derry could include the Battle of Wits, changing the names because the movie already used the original name. The basic principle of the book moment is still effective and tracks with the eventual defeat of Pennywise.
David and Baraki are very confused by your spread his legs phrase. Spread your wings. Stretch your legs.
Yeah.
You combine the two sayings together.
I just because we don't know we don't know how long this show's going to be.
Yeah.
But it's like ultimately, what would you say? He had 30 minutes of screen time between the two movies.
I give it 30 to 40. Yeah.
You know, so it's
not
just
a ton.
No, it's just not. I mean, that's the way horror movies
it's
usually
one of those,
are.
It's
right?
one of those. It's like Jaws. How long is the shark in the movie?
Yeah, or Anthony Hopkins is on screen for 9 minutes in Silence of the Lambs.
Exactly.
So it's just like, but in a show, and I just feel like you could just let him go, dude, and just let him be like. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like you could. Just,
oh no, yeah, you could absolutely let him stretch his legs and spread his wings at the same time,
and just what he's gonna. He's gonna rock it, man.
Oh yeah,
I'm so glad he's back. I don't think I've fully let it sink in that he's back yet. I think like in my head I know it, but in my heart I won't.
I gotta
truly
figure out. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with my wife and kid when this comes out. Like go visit your mom. Like go get a hotel or something. You know.
Or you just turn it on and watch it.
Yeah. That'd go over well.
Number 5, the Markson Famicide. Another moment from the Stephen King book that writers of HBO Welcome to Derry could include to build the lore and history of Derry. In 1851, it possessed a man named John Markson who was used as a puppet for chaos and violence. Markson obtained the lethal mushroom nightshade and poisoned his entire family, causing them to die while experiencing unspeakable pain. After their deaths, he arranged the bodies in a circle and sat in the middle eating poison until he died too. That would be a fun scene. This event in Derry's history is one of the earliest examples of it taking joy in exerting his ability to control others. He later possesses Henry Bowers, as shown in the It movies. The Markson Famicide would be a great choice for writers to include or reference Welcome to Derry because the event only has one paragraph in the Stephen King book, giving the creative team plenty of room to create story mostly from scratch. And yes, you gotta love those ones that are just like a paragraph, because it's like if you wanted to stretch that into a 10-minute scene, like there's so much you could do.
Did he kill his family with the mushrooms, or did he kill him with something else, and then he ate the mushrooms?
It says they all he killed them with that, then arranged their bodies in a circle, sat in the middle, and ate the mushrooms or ate poison himself.
Yeah.
Let's see. That'd be a fun one. I mean, well, relative in the horror movie sense of town.
Another one along with that is, what if we get the murders of the family from 11/22/63?
Yeah, that's it's not a bad call. Where are we at? Number 4 is next.
Yeah.
Number 4, the 1740 Derry Massacre. The movie briefly alludes to the fact that the first settlers of Derry, Maine disappeared without a trace. Ben mentions that Derry started as a beaver hunting camp and 91 people went missing, with only bloody clothes remaining to indicate what happened. In the book, around 340 people at the Derry settlement went missing, leaving a ghost town. Despite the number of people killed, the residents of Derry don't talk about the massacre. HBO's It prequel series can expand upon this story, showing that its rampage started about 2.5 centuries before the events of both Welcome to Derry and It. They could also use this as an example of how it influences the minds of Derry citizens. Because of the time period, the 1740 massacre could appear in flashback, or characters could discuss the events. This is probably the one that excites me the most. I want to see that, because like that almost like ties in with like, what is it, Roanoke?
Yeah, it's Roanoke. It's Roanoke.
Jamestown.
Jamestown.
I almost said Jonestown, but I'm like, Jonestown's Kool-Aid.
Jamestown is the real one that survives. Roanoke is the one that doesn't. I don't remember a trail of bloody clothes. The only thing I remember is that there was one burned down house, which could have been caused by because the big thing was that it was blamed on Indians.
Yeah.
But Mike specifically calls out there was no reason to think that, because there was no evidence of violence. A trail of bloody clothes would indicate violence. So that's the only reason. Maybe I'm misremembering it. That's possible.
Yeah.
But I did a quick Google search, and the first thing I found here is a timeline of the complete timeline of Pennywise the Clown on Ranker.com, and they say only a trail of bloody clothes was left behind as evidence that anyone had ever been there at all. Yeah. And that's wrong. The houses were there. Everything was there. It's just that people disappeared. And that's all I remember, is that becomes more of a mystery than a, oh, God, this is a crime scene kind of thing. Like, oh, people were murdered here.
Yeah.
It was just people were gone, is
Yeah.
what I remember.
Yeah.
I wonder which one it is.
This is top of the list for me, though.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see this because, like, again, tying into like real American history, like that. Just you play on that, but it's like now you're spinning it where it's like Pennywise is the reason for it rather than like who knows what happened in reality.
Because in this section where Mike's talking about this one, the 1740 disappearances, is that he's tying the correlations, and he does it with a couple different subjects where if you have this amount of child murders, like the ones in Atlanta,
Yeah.
you would have federal news, federal agencies, worldwide news would be coming to Derry and being like, "What the hell's going on here? You have a higher kid death rate than anywhere else in the world."
Yeah.
And then he does this one where it's like, Roanoke's famous. Go talk to any kid who just finished American history; they'll tell you about Roanoke. But what about the 1740 Derry people, settlers?
Yeah.
No one knows about that. That's what he's drawing correlation to.
Yeah.
Is there's so many different instances where Derry should have been noticed by the national media and should have been noticed by government officials, and it's not.
Yeah.
And that's where he's talking about this one.
So Hollywood needs to investigate Derry.
Dude, that would be insane for a crossover, as Holly ending up in Derry.
Yeah. Yeah. So number 3 is It's monster form. It says one unfortunate part of changing the time frame for It and It Chapter 2 was the removal of the movie monsters that appear in Stephen King's It. In the book, the titular shape-shifting alien takes the form of many classic movie monsters, like a giant tentacled eyeball from the Trollenberg Tower, the bird from Rodan, and the werewolf from I Was a Teenage Werewolf. These choices fit the fears that would be appropriate for kids in the late 1950s. However, the monsters would not have the same impact on the movie versions of The Loser Club because the film takes place in 1989 and 2017. Luckily, Pennywise prequel has the chance to include these book moments because the series is set in the 1960s. The movies, which mostly came out in 1958, would be close enough to the start of Welcome to Derry that kids might still be afraid of them.
Do it. No, you just do a monster summer at the Aladdin.
Yeah.
And you just have the eye, the crawling eye, and the blob, and Frankenstein's monster, and the teen werewolf. You know, all these movies that the kids are going to go to the movie and throw popcorn at the screen and laugh at it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's going to be that one kid sitting there with his friends going, "Oh my God."
Like you, if it's a werewolf.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up, you may have alluded to something close to this.
Okay.
Number 2, Jake Epping traveling to Derry.
Yeah.
Says in addition to incorporating events from the It book, Welcome to Derry could explore Stephen King short stories and books. A great choice for HBO would be to make 11/22/63, King's sci-fi book about a man named Jake Epping traveling through time to stop the JFK assassination. While the books are vastly different in tone and focus, 11/22/63 includes a direct connection to It. Epping travels to Derry in 1958 as a trial to see if he can change history by saving a man named Harry Dunning's family from being murdered. He instinctively hates the place, and despite lacking any knowledge of about the evil monster there's no specific reason why Harry's family has to be killed that year. So HBO could show Welcome to Derry twist on 11/22/63's timeline slightly and have the character appear in the early 60s, which I think that's totally do. I mean, didn't the show 11/22/63 move it to 1960 instead of 58?
I don't remember the show.
I think it did. I think because ultimately I get why King did it, but ultimately, like, if you're doing a show or a movie, it's like you got to speed it up a bit here.
Yeah,
man.
You can't have him living in the past for 8 years.
Yeah,
because I think that was the time that he had to live in the past was 8 years, wasn't it?
It was 58 to 63.
So 5 years, okay.
Yeah. So I do think the show.
Yeah, you just move it. You just move it to 1961.
I think the show was 60. Is how I remember it.
Okay.
So yeah, easily it could fit.
Baraki calls up Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah, that's kind of an important part in the It book is when you actually see It murder one of the children instead of just talking about a missing kid.
I mean, not to go full circle, but 1960s, depending on what it is, Psycho would be a fairly new movie.
This is true.
What if you got a Pennywise dressed as Norman's mom?
Could.
Look at that. 2 Norman Bates references in one episode.
Ooh, what about The Birds? When does The Birds come out?
I don't remember when The Birds is. I want to say that was before Psycho, but I don't.
63.
It was after. Okay. So still 60s, though.
Still 60s, so not with Jake Epping and everything like that, but You could have the birds.
Yeah, indeed. And Pennywise likes birds.
He does.
So does Randall Flagg.
They would. I know that we've had the conversation jokingly about Flagg versus Pennywise. They would make the absolute.
I was going to say, what about a team?
They would absolutely make the worst fucking team possible.
There you go.
Oh my god.
There's the tag team champions right there, man.
Oh yeah.
Randall
I don't think you could come up with two good guys from Stephen King that could top him. Roland can handle it. Roland can handle Flagg. Roland cannot handle those two together, no matter who you put with him.
Yeah.
I don't think. Well, I may have just come up with a team that could beat these two bitches. I think Carrie and Charlie could toast these
in
two.
your mind, because in my mind, Flagg is eternal and he'll always come back. So, number one is a little bit more of an obscure one. David Streeter making a deal with George Elvid. It says the novella Fair Extension by Stephen King would be the best choice to include in HBO's Welcome to Derry because there's an obvious connection that is never fully explored in the writing. The main focus of Fair Extension is the Faustian bargain between a man named David Streeter, who lives with terminal lung cancer, and a stranger named George Elvid, who has lived for centuries. Elvid grants him 15 more years if he transfers his misfortune onto someone he hates. That's a fun thing there. Considering the story is set in Derry, it seems like a given that George Elvid is actually an alias of the titular monster. After all, two unrelated immortal magical beings existing in the same small town seems odd and unrealistic. The novella plot could even tie into the events of It, like the Black Spot, with David Streeter putting his bad luck into Mike Hanlon's father. This would make it easier for Welcome to Derry to incorporate both stories. I've actually never read this. I don't know what collection this is in.
What's it called?
Fair Extension. That sounds like a really cool fucking premise of a story, though. What collection is that with?
Full Dark, No Stars.
Okay.
2010.
God, you know, I've had that one in my cart a number of times, and I've never pulled the goddamn trigger on it. Because that is just like, yeah, the Faustian deal is always an interesting thing for me in literature and stuff. So,
just synopsis. In August of 2001. Ooh, that's a month before the. Ooh.
I wonder if that's who he gave up. Some of the.
Oh God! Hashtag Tad is terrible.
The guy he gave up, his desk is right where the fucking first plane.
Oh God! No,
I know.
No, he was on the plane
or something. Oh man,
because that would make more sense if he's from Maine. You know, he's flying. You know,
but
that kind of thing.
That also gives something for you to look into too if you want to explore more Derry. It sounds like you might, or unless you've already read that one, because
I have not. That's one of the ones that's not available in audiobook
is it not
form.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
That's wild because that's like not even an older book.
It's 2010.
Yeah,
2010, not available in audiobook.
That is fucking insane.
Is it?
That's
now
you're doubting yourself.
I'm doubting myself.
I thought I had that one in my cart, so I thought I had an audio.
No, I got Just After Sunset as the audio, the short story collection that was on audiobook.
Okay.
Hold on.
But yeah, that's that one. Now we're moving over to odds and ends. While you go ahead and look at that, the first odds and ends I have. King is apparently not a fan of the documentary Room 237, which makes me happy because I hated it too.
I've never seen that.
He says, quote, this is Stephen King, quote, yeah, well, let me put it this way. I watched about half of it and got sort of impatient with it and turned it off, King told the outlet. He was being interviewed. And he says, these guys are reaching. He continues, I've never had much patience for academic bullshit. It's like Dylan says, you give people a lot of knives and forks and they've got to cut something. And that's what is going on in that movie, which is actually, I didn't have the Dylan reference, but I was certainly, that's what I kind of thought with that, where I'm like, dude, you people are fucking really stretching here. And it just makes me very, very happy that King tried to watch this and came to the same conclusions I did.
Gotcha. I've never watched it.
Yeah, I think I got maybe halfway through before I shut it off. It just got to the point where I'm like, dude, this is beyond absurd.
Full Dark, No Stars, I have to retract, and
it is on there.
It is on Audible, and it was just purchased by me.
I thought it was, because I was about to say, I swear to God, at one point I had like in my cart ready to hit purchase, and I was just like, no.
Wait, okay, hold on. We gotta fix this. Why the fuck does it say that I've read that?
Oh, I don't know.
I haven't read full. I just bought it. How can I have read it?
I don't know. Next up,
that story is not.
Next up, we've got Giancarlo Esposito, depending on how you say it. I've heard references of him pronouncing it both ways. He is talking about one of the early movies that he ever did called Maximum Overdrive.
Oh.
We actually discovered that he was in that when we did our watch along on Patreon. I was like, that looks like fucking Gus Fring.
Yeah.
And we looked it up, like, my God, it is. So he says, quote, "Oh my goodness. I mean, I thought Steven was brilliant in directing that film, and I thought that he would have a long career as a director. He's prolific as a writer, of course, and I love what he writes, but that film had... and then he goes ... He was really good with the team of artisans who were making it." So I'm just going to say, for everyone that shits on that movie, I'm so glad, because I've loved it. It's cool to hear Giancarlo giving some kind words to it. And then the article does mention, if you don't remember Giancarlo Esposito's part in Maximum Overdrive offhand, that's excusable, as it was not exactly a large role. He was credited as video player. He is hanging out at the Dixie Boy truck stop playing an arcade game at the beginning of the film when all the world's trucks and electronics in the world develop conscious homicidal tendencies. For a brief moment, he feels blessed as a cigarette machine starts pumping out packs and quarters, but then he gets hypnotized by a Star Castle cabinet and that electrocutes him to death when he touches it. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And it's cool to hear him giving some kind words. And he says, quote, "I thought Steven was brilliant in directing that film."
Yeah.
So, now, was he sober? No.
No.
Was he brilliant? In his opinion, yes. So,
Baraki says, "Do you remember that Dick Halloran is referenced in it?"
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That's one of my big ones I always do remember. I love Dick Halloran, man. He's one of my favorite King characters. I don't know why, but I've just always loved that character.
Top 10 King characters go.
So when he's like in anything, I Leo mean it for sure, because I'm like, Dick, I love him. He's awesome.
He's in a few things too.
Yeah, because he's in It. We get him in Doctor Sleep. We get him in It. I feel like he's referenced one other place, but I could be mistaken.
No, he is. I swear he is.
Yeah, he's great though. He's a wonderful character. And then next up, let me make sure get the slide here. I brought this up on the Hangout yesterday, and I want to bring it up again today with evidence this time.
Okay.
The Mandela effect.
The Shawshank Redemption.
I did this to Peter on the Hangout. I told him to tell me the title of the novella starring Andy Dufresne.
Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption.
Which is what I would have said, and apparently we were both wrong. And I have a cover here to even show it. The title of the goddamn thing is Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption.
There
it drops
no
the, and that drives me fucking. You know what it reminded me of while I was doing prep?
Yeah.
In the last last night was it's like that new Batman show. It's Batman Cape Crusader. I'm like, no. It's got to be the Cape Crusader. It just feels wrong not having the in there. And this is the same thing. Like, you've got to have the in there. It just feels off without it. So, I just wanted to throw that up as the odds and ends to bother everyone else that probably has the Mandela effect like me. That the title, and Peter and I discussed it yesterday, it's most likely what it is it's probably that we're all kind of inserting the from the movie.
Because the movie with Morgan Freeman and everyone is The Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, but I will grant that, but I will still say just Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, that doesn't sound right to me. It just, I don't know. Linguistically, it seems wrong to me.
According to the Shining wiki, he only appears in The Shining, It, and Doctor Sleep. Halloran.
Maybe he's certainly appeared more in our hearts, though.
Absolutely. So on that top 10 list, real fast, I just didn't have the Kitchener Ironworks. It's the only one I missed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, indeed. Next up, we've got Uncle Stevie Recommends. So the first one he has is In a Violent Nature.
I cannot wait to see this film.
I may or may not be in the final stages of starting a YouTube channel with Hayden Reacts. And I will say this is going to be very, very early. In
first 5 episodes?
Easily.
Okay.
Easily.
First 3?
Probably.
First 2?
Probably.
First 1?
Well, I think he and I have talked. We might do 2 at a time, record 2 at a time, and then release them separately. But I'm pretty sure that in the first time we sit down to record. So whether it be the first or second episode. So In a Violent Nature, King tweets, if you need a slasher movie, this one will do the job. It's leisurely and almost languorous, but when the blood flows, it flows in buckets. The killer in his mask looks like the world's most terrifying minion.
I don't know how you feel about minions.
They should be microwaved, all of them. Every one of them. They're the worst. So yeah, that's the first one here. The second one that King has, 3 Body on Amazon Prime, is the original Chinese version of the 3 Body Problem, which is on Netflix. Both are good. The Chinese version is harder sci-fi, but the implications of the latter episodes are terrifying, Lovecraftian. Then he says, quote, the lifeless noise of the universe. So, if you're a fan of Three Body Problem on Netflix, the original thing that was the original for it in China apparently is on Amazon Prime, and it is called Three Body. So check that out if you're so inclined.
Okay.
And then the last one, King tweet says, I thought Under Paris would be a jokey movie like Sharknado. And I believe this is actually a shark movie.
It's it's a shark movie set in the aqueducts and the rivers of Paris. I actually saw this right here, and I went and looked it up and added it to my Netflix watch list.
Okay. He says, but Twitter convinced me to give it a watch, and it's really quite good. The last 25 minutes were amazing.
Yeah.
So I had never heard of this movie before. So
it's a full-on shark movie set. They're doing because the Olympics are in Paris here in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
13 days is when they start. So they have like swimming events in the rivers. And there's man-eating sharks.
That sounds fun. Sharks.
Yeah,
or as I call them, sea bears.
It's like they've adapted to live in fresh water, I think is what the kind of the Netflix trailer showed us.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
luckily
a terrifying concept when you think about it.
Luckily, in reality, they could never live in pools, though. All that chlorine and chemicals would kill them dead real quick. So we got Palaver section now. I've got one, and you got one.
Okay,
So,
we're gonna save mine for last.
Yeah. So, thinking about You Like It Darker, I got to thinking why we've had no Dark Tower stuff from King, even in the form of a novella or short story. It's been a long time. So, between 1978, when the first portion of Gunslinger was published in the magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, through 2012, when Went Through the Keyhole was published, the longest that King went between Tower stories, novel, or novellas was 8 years between the Dark Tower and Went Through the Keyhole. If you exclude Wind, his largest gap between Dark Tower stories was 6 years. With the average, if you average the entirety of it from 77 through 2012, you take an average, it's 3 3/4 of a year is the average length between Dark Tower stories. We are now 12 years beyond Went Through the Keyhole.
Oof.
So that marks the last Dark Tower story. It makes me wonder if King has closed the book on this world, and that Talking Scared, he was asked about Dark Tower and Talisman in one question, and I wish I would have grabbed the quote, but I was driving. But essentially what he said was, the world of Roland, I feel, is largely closed for me. So, and honestly, it's funny because I listened to that today, but I wrote this up last night because I was just looking at the math. I'm like, why have we not? This is this isn't even just like, oh, it's a couple years longer. No, we're like double the longest gap outside of Went Through the Keyhole, which Went Through the Keyhole being kind of like almost an epilogue, even though it doesn't take place at the end. It just kind of had me wondering. And then listening to that goddamn podcast, dude, I Leo'd it in my car. I'm like, God damn it, that's the fucking topic I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart a bit because it's like, and I won't.
It's not the answer you were hoping for.
No, it's not the answer I was hoping for. But honestly, once I started thinking about the math, even before hearing that, I started to wonder, though, because I'm like, I don't think I've ever actually calculated out the math to think like, it's been 12 years, man.
If you want to be technical, it's only been 7 because we did get the movie.
No, King.
I know, but King had his story adapted into a film.
Doesn't count.
So
Doesn't
I'm just
count.
saying we could take solace in knowing that there's a Dark Tower movie in 2017, and he is actively okay with Flanagan.
Yeah,
obviously having the rights.
And like the Dark Tower is not a closed world in general because we're going to see adaptations and stuff. But
it's
but
new King works.
It does sound like King. Now I will say, I don't know. There's still part of me that wonders, and maybe I'm just being like desperate, where it's just like maybe the turtle will still call to him at some point, where he just sees it as closed now. But but he kind of said that he always felt drawn and almost like somebody else was writing through him. He said, especially in the 4th book, which he then called his favorite, which is pretty cool to hear. But he just said that he just doesn't necessarily feel that, and he hasn't felt it since 2012. So again, it was just the serendipity of this. Like having all this math thinking and kind of wondering, getting like bleak about it, and then fucking listen to that goddamn podcast this morning while I went to drive to get some food. Like it just like, what? So
it's the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, King Arthur. You make me sad.
Yeah, it really does. But like I said, it's almost weird because before I heard that, I was almost bracing myself for it because doing the math, I'm like, I wonder if we're
it's
because
been a minute.
that was going to be my Palaver discussion was just like, do we think this world is closed? Like
I do now.
based on the map. But then then I heard that and I was like, well, that kind of kills my discussion a bit. But I still wanted to bring it up because it's.
Well, I appreciate you not posing the question to me and then just sledgehammering my heart right there.
I should have done that.
Gosh, I am grateful for that.
Oh, I should have done
And
that.
you know what? You know the sad part is, and this is where #Tad is terrible, is that it's not that he did it on purpose this way. It's just he didn't think of the more evil way of doing it. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you literally just heard him say, I should have done it.
Yeah, I should have. I should have thought of that.
Yeah.
Should have thought of that. So
You're a monster. You know that?
Rocky's his dad. You are terrible.
See, I thank you, Baraki. I appreciate that.
And then Baraki, maybe that's it. Dick Halloran and Speedy Parker from Talisman are kind of the same-ish characters, and maybe that could be what you're all thinking of. I guarantee
He's a
you
twinner, yeah.
I bet you almost anything that's what I was thinking. That's good call. Thank you. That's exactly what that's what it was. And now that you've said it, it clicks. Like,
Yeah, that's what it is.
I know that's not him, but
Yeah.
it's like, it's him.
Baraki, I appreciate you doing that instead of an actual emoji. That's nice of you. You did the chat version of a heart instead of an actual heart emoji.
The millennial.
The millennial text heart.
Yeah, text.
Yeah.
Text emoji instead
Text
of
emoji instead of an actual emoji.
indeed. So
All
yeah,
right, so I got a good one for us here. All right, everyone's strap in. This is going to be a fun discussion. We got about 20 minutes, so I'm going to let Tad go the whole time. I got nothing else. You got anything else? We got any emails?
no
Email jingle?
No, I will admit I didn't look at the emails this morning. So but we haven't been getting a lot of emails
That's
recently.
true, we haven't.
So I'm pull it up
I'm
now.
gonna
just
let
to
you
see,
check
but-
the email just to make sure that we're good on time and that you're gonna have the full time to give this the full attention that I feel it deserves.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so we were driving to lunch yesterday because we get lunch and then we do our Patreon hangout. And I said I got a question for us to talk about on the hangout because we're just gonna kind of hang out and chat today. But I want you to have just a little bit of prep time. So this is probably about an hour and a half before we're doing the hangout that Tad has to think about this while he munches on some delicious Mongolian barbecue. And I said, HBO signs Flanagan's Dark Tower series. They're going to do like the whole thing, going to do it right and everything like that. But
he said Flanagan, so of course they're doing it right.
Exactly. But they're going to peg you as the Kevin Feige of a Stephen King universe. What's going to happen?
I mean,
that's where we're going to go with this, and I got some follow-up questions as well.
I think the first question is what kind of restrictions are there? Because of course Warner Brothers doesn't have the rights to everything.
I am going to say that Warner Brothers is going to say, you name it, we're going to go get it.
Yeah, which is what Flanagan has said. He says there's plenty of like relationships, and you could always go and beg people, but then if it doesn't work out, then you could always replace things like Danny Torrance might show up instead of I don't know who, but
Father Callahan.
Yeah, it could be instead of Father Callahan or who knows. But yes, either way.
Yeah.
I'm
going to give you. I want a full blank check. I don't want any restrictions where it's like, no, you have to leave like the classics alone, like leave The Shining and leave it alone. No, I want full on. You have 100% creative control.
I mean, so Flanagan's going to do his thing. So pretty much what I would be doing is trying to do the setup stuff for it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would do is once Salem's Lot is released, I'd get that actor that played Father Callahan from that new movie on Max.
So you're saying the Salem's Lot that's been filmed and is canned
releasing this year. We covered that.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we don't have a date yet, but yes, it's coming out this year. Most likely around spooky season.
Probably.
That's my guess.
So, okay.
So I'm taking the actor from that, and we are going to adapt a 5-episode miniseries for Father Callahan's Highways and Byways.
Highways and Byways.
And that means it might come out before the Dark Tower series even starts.
Okay.
But then down the road, when Flanagan gets around to seasons 4 or 5, whatever it is, when that is to be told, like now that actor just gets brought in and, you know, people have already seen that show. I believe that could stand on its own as well. I think that's that would be a genius miniseries. You know, you're pulling it out of the Dark Tower books, but it's like I truly don't see
also out of the Dark Tower show. There's no.
Well, that's what I mean. But I don't think that Flanagan is truly going to be able to spend that much time. If you're talking 5 episodes, a 5-episode miniseries, that's 5 hours. Do you really think he's going to waste 5 hours of his series to go through that?
No.
Probably not. But if me, I would take that, pull it out,
'Kay.
and it's like now when we get to that moment, every viewer that's gone and watched that is going to be able to be like, dude, I know this story, you know. So that would definitely be one of the first ones that comes to mind.
'Kay.
Probably Low Men in Yellow Coats is another one I would be doing. That one's tough because the original Hearts of Atlantis movie, I do enjoy. We watched that probably a year or two ago for Patreon hangouts.
Last year.
Like that one is tough because they did do a good job of it, but they did pretty much strip all the Dark Tower stuff out. I would just redo it as a probably another show, probably another mini series. It doesn't have to be as long, and that one could even just be like a 3 or 4 episode type thing. And cover that whole thing. Maybe even do it to where it's like, you know, like 2 or 3 episodes is the main story of Low Men in Yellow Coats.
Okay.
And then do another episode or 2 of the rest of the stuff for, I just blanked on his name. I almost said Dinky Earnshaw. What's his name?
Ted Brodigan.
Ted Brodigan. Show the rest of his stuff.
Okay.
So it's like, even if it comes at the end of it, show a flashback of him escaping to get into the story and then see him brought back to it. You know, or you could do it in order if you wanted to, but like I would cage it around that stuff too. So some of the Dark Tower stuff that isn't even necessarily as heavy in Hearts of Atlantis could be in this series, right? Because there's some stuff that like Dark Tower filled in some spaces that didn't exist in the original novels, but used, you know, but they expanded it, right? Father Callahan's like what? You know, like maybe like 3 pages in Salem's Lot. He's really not in that. He's not in that story a lot. But then Dark Tower expands it out, and they expanded Ted's a lot too, because then you saw outside of our world what did Ted's life look like before, after, all that kind of stuff. I would do that as well.
Who you casting as Ted? Just knee-jerk reaction. Who you got? Because Father Callahan's going to be the one from Salem's Lot.
Yeah. I don't know. Dreamcasting Ted.
Yeah.
Problem is, I can never think of him outside of Anthony Hopkins.
Okay.
Anthony is like, it's weird because I read that a few times before I ever watched the show. But I think that even just knowing that existed in the old days, I knew when it came out in the early 2000s. And I think because of that, even when I read it originally, I think I've always just pictured Anthony Hopkins, even though I hadn't seen the movie. So
we're looking for a little bit older gentleman. Distinguished, a little bit fancier talker. Anyone coming to mind? Just give like first name. Like let's.
I'm blanking right now. My head's not in dreamcasting mode, so I would go with Dick Halloran from the Doctor Sleep, and he played the investigator in Fall of the House of Usher. He's an older guy, kind of has that distinguished way about him.
Fall of the House of Usher.
I forget his name, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he did Dick Halloran in the Doctor Sleep movie.
Okay, maybe I should go through Doctor Sleep.
I know I'll know the guy's name once you say it, but he's one that comes immediately to mind. Because I don't know. Right now, I for some reason I'm only thinking of like younger actors, and even like ones that are a little bit older. It's like guys like George Clooney, which like yes, he's like pushing 60, but does he look a day over 45?
What the hell? Arthur Woodley?
No, that doesn't sound right. Dick Halloran.
Why?
Actor.
Oh, 2000. Carl Lumbly.
Yes.
That's who it is.
Yeah, I could see him pulling it off.
Okay.
And he's also got that kindness. I think that's what really comes to my mind too. Not just that he's like kind of a noble-ish stately kind of guy, but also he has that warmth that he shows to Dan.
Okay.
You know, and he shows even to Usher in Fall of the House of Usher when the guy doesn't deserve it. Right? He's kind of has like a nature where he starts to really feel for him as he's telling him the story and stuff. And like, there's a warmth to him that I think Ted's got to have.
Yes.
So, that's
okay.
I think that would probably be mine.
All right, so we got, just to recap, we got Father Callahan's Highways and Byways, 5-part miniseries to show Father Callahan's travels from Detroit, San Francisco, the homeless shelter, I guess you would call it, for men in New York, the vampires that he kills and all that kind of stuff. Then we got Low Men in Yellow Coats. So you're just talking like readapting Hearts in Atlantis part, not all of.
No, the Low Men in Yellow Coats.
You want to do the whole?
No, Hearts in Atlantis is the whole book.
Okay, that's right. I had it backwards.
Because the movie fucked us up because the movie then took the title of the overall book and applied it to Low Men in Yellow Coats.
Yeah, so you just want the Low Men in Yellow Coats, which is Ted. Okay, so are we just going to be looking at? Or we're kind of just building the Dark Tower. So
that's all I could really do, right? Because Flanagan's going to take care of the primary series. So.
Well, one of the things I was also wondering is like, okay, so you're not building a Dark Tower universe, you're building a Stephen King universe. And now I know you're probably going to do the Dark Tower as the linchpin, but that doesn't mean that you can't have movies tied with main novels. Give me a Cujo movie. How would you take a Cujo movie and tie it to the Dark Tower? That kind of thing. Because it's not necessarily just Dark Tower related stuff, like one step related. Give me something that's 2 steps related, or are you looking at something? Oh, you know what? I'm going to influence you a little bit. What about the Dead Zone? Would you do something with the Dead Zone?
I mean, I do think the Dead Zone's a wonderful movie, but I would love to see that readapted. I think it'd be interesting.
So should we put that on the list? The Dead Zone.
Yeah, I don't see how it ties into Dark Tower as directly, but yeah, I'll never say no to that.
Give me a way that you would think about tying it in. Let's brainstorm here a little bit. That's the whole point of this exercise. Is like we're building a universe. Okay, so Stephen King, things have to cross, but doesn't necessarily have to cross directly with.
I mean, some of Father Callahan's money might have what's his name on it
as the president
from Stilson. From the Dead Zone.
There you go. One of the worlds is Stilson as president.
Yeah.
See, that right there. That's what I'm looking for. It's little things like that. That's one connection right there. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And the Dead Zone can be remade.
I mean,
that was my thought process with this, is that you were going to give me like, okay, well, here's how I'm going to remake Cujo and tie it into this universe. Here's how I'm going to do Firestarter and tie it into this universe.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So that's what I was kind of thinking with this exercise is how are you going to tie all of King's works together into a cinematic universe kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now it's slow building, so I'm just kind of seeing like what are your like 5 to 7 properties that you want to start with that are connected.
Yeah. I mean, I could always take the Jake actor and do Everything's Eventual.
Oh, okay.
Just film that, do a side thing, and
yeah. Okay.
It's like okay, Flanagan, you're going to cast Jake for the first portion, but then he's not going to be used there for a chunk for drawing of the 3.
Right.
So let me go ahead and borrow that actor for a bit, and let's make Everything's Eventual because he's the twinner, right? Like Ted's like, oh my God, it's Dinky. Like,
yeah, or would you want to do Talisman because he's also a twinner there?
Yeah, but the most directly though, where it's just like, because again, it always strikes me that when he thinks he legitimately thinks
Ted's
Jake
like, holy shit, is your name Dan?
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, or Dinky, right? Isn't it Dinky?
No, Ted.
I know Ted thinks that he's Dinky's twinner, isn't it? Like his friend in Algo Ciento?
No. He thinks that he's the boy that he saved in Low Men in Yellow Coats.
Oh, so that wouldn't work then. I was thinking it was Dinky Earnshaw because those 2 are close in the.
Dinky's there with them when he meets them at the station. It's Dinky and Ted and Shimi, the 3 that come to get them at the station.
I don't know how The Shining would tie in, but of course I've been saying for how long would I want The Shining redone as a miniseries.
I mean, you just cast someone who played Dick Halloran in Dr. Sleep.
Yeah, but he can't be both, can he?
Okay, so what about if we tie The Shining with?
I remember reading this series the first time and thinking that at some point they were going to go through a door and end up in Colorado. I really legit did. It never happened.
What about if you just have Flanagan do that? Now that's the thing is you're the boss.
Because here's the thing is
so you can just say Flanagan, look, I'm going to need you when you do this part of it. I need them to open a door, and it's the fucking Overlook.
Yeah.
And I want this actor to have a cameo in there, and there's your Jack Torrance standing there with the fucking axe.
Yeah.
Because dude, imagine if that happened. Imagine just think about this is kind of the fun part of this.
I mean, you think
this is like
you got to twist Flanagan's arm? Like,
no.
Think about how
no.
I actually saw a thing with him
Dude, what if it's Ewan McGregor that they get?
I mean, I've speculated about that when he was talking about if they can't get certain rights, like they'll have to do something that they can get the rights to. And I've speculated, what if Ewan McGregor shows up in the Dark Tower series as Dan Torrance?
Dude.
Yeah, I wonder if that...
Yeah, you just have the door open and you just hear, worthless pup, and he turns and it like comes around the corner and it's Ewan McGregor with the
use
axe.
that line in Doctor Sleep, right?
Worthless pup. I think he does.
Because The Shining doesn't, so the movie
Yeah.
doesn't. So I want to say that they actually he finally got that into the
Because that actually would tie The Shining and Doctor Sleep then to your cinematic universe.
yeah.
Your Shining and that Doctor Sleep.
Yeah. Maybe do like I don't even know what it would be if it would be like a full on movie or almost like I almost think like the old Marvel one shots, but do like a 1 episode thing. So it's like, hey, we're just doing a 40-minute thing. Imagine just a short story where you jump back in to Dan Torrance and Abra, and maybe they're attacked, and she's attacked by some low men trying to get her.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a full on series or movie even, but it's
They show up to. What about if you did a instead of Low Men in the Yellow Coats miniseries following Ted? What if you do a 3 to 4 miniseries of Low Men in Yellow Coats going after potential targets? One of them is the recovery of Ted Brodigan, and then one of them is the attempted kidnapping of Abra Stone. Okay, so let's do 2 more. What are 2 more that you could see the Low Men in the Yellow Coats going after? Because we got
Carrie and Charlie.
Carrie and Charlie. There's Firestarter and Carrie right there tied into your cinematic universe, Tad. Fucking A, dude.
No, you know what they should do is just in the Low Men in Yellow Coats series is they just talk about different targets, like oh, what about like this one up in
just have them like on the board, even
or have them
someone
like,
bring a folder over
or mention it and just like no, we tried that once before.
No, we tried that once more.
I lost 25 people.
I lost 25 agents at that farm. And don't even show her. Don't even show Charlie McGee. I lost 25.
No, I'm talking for Abra.
Oh, for
Abra and Dan.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we tried. There's 2 of them there.
Yeah,
there's 2. Why don't we go after that? It's like, no, we tried. I lost 25 people.
I lost 25 to them. Oh, that's worse than the farm with McGee. Like there's a Firestarter reference right there.
I mean, I'll do a full show for Rose the Hat too.
Oh, Rose the Hat show.
Yeah, just her going up and down the highways and byways, getting steam.
Mm-hmm. Do a period piece like you're doing with Pennywise. Can you imagine how terrifying that would be?
And also, what about Rose the Hat showing up at Dandelo's hut? Imagine those 2 hanging out.
Oh. What if Dandelo's a cast-off from the True Knot? What if he did something so fucking heinous that he got exiled from the True Knot?
I think he's an It sibling.
Oh, yeah?
I do. I think those 2 are way too closely related to not be like.
Oh, okay.
Not like brother and sister, because I do think they're different, like subspecies or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's like a dog and a fox. Like they're not super far distant from each other, but they are related close enough to where you can kind of squint your eyes and confuse them a little bit. Because I think King's directly stated that like no, they're not. Dandelo is not an It. Like he said that, so it's like okay, I'm going to give up on that. Them being like the exact same, but I'm not going to give up the idea that they're not both like creatures from
Boa constrictor and an anaconda are not the exact same, but they are very big snakes.
Yeah,
they're very similar.
They're both Toadash darkness creatures that have ended up in different parts outside of Toadash.
Mike points out his psychic ability is the touch, which is Dan Torrance and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, he says Bruce Greenwood too for that's a good one for.
Oh, that's a good one.
Ted Brodigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Batman.
I think the only thing I'd not make a knock on him is he's a wonderful actor, but I almost see no warmth with him. I feel like he always just feels like the rough, gruff, like fucking pick yourself up and dust yourself off. Like I don't know. I just feel like everything I see him in, which is fine. Like that's kind of the he's got that gravitas, right? And I just like so maybe with Ted that'd be a little bit hard to fit him in there. But I love Bruce Greenwood, dude. I really do.
Would you do anything with Holly?
I know
how much you love Holly.
Yeah, there's certainly Holly stuff that hasn't been adapted yet. If It Bleeds and Holly.
We got new stuff from Holly coming, it sounds like, with a new novel. So plenty there. The Outsider has been done, but The Outsider was done outside of the Mercedes trilogy.
Now, if I can deal with multiverse stuff, then I would just...
There's different levels of the tower, Ted.
I would just do my Holly show I've been saying, where I want an X-Files type show where it's Holly going through the Stephen King universe.
Oh, Holly X-Files show.
Going through the various elements of the Stephen King universe. Imagine Holly going to the Overlook. Imagine Holly the Overlook wreckage.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore in her time. Her going to Derry. Her, just imagine her popping around. Imagine her in Castle Rock.
You would not want her to go to the Overlook wreckage because that's where Rose the Hat is.
Yeah.
Rose the Hat and Holly cannot be together because one of them is dying, and you don't want that.
No, but we'll call it a draw.
All right, we'll call it a draw.
Imagine Holly in the aftermath of A Needful Things, going into that.
Or
a whole fucking town that's just been absolutely fucking decimated and obliterated, and
Yeah.
she's trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
But it's like from the king's perspective.
Or dude, can you imagine Holly looking into something like the Dead Zone?
Yeah.
Like this guy had psychic ability and he murdered this politician.
Depends. I think that'd be tough though, because I think she would just buy it.
Yeah.
I think Holly's so far beyond not believing, right? And I also don't think that she was as hard as Hodges to convert either. I think that once she saw something, she's like, "Fine, I live in this world now."
There's a very big portion of The Outsider where she's like, "Ralph, you have to believe.
Yeah, Ralph too.
If you don't believe, we are going to die."
Yeah, Hodges and
all
Ralph
the others don't matter, but if you don't believe, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
There's that. Oh, I love this, Ted. So we got, just to recap, Father Callahan's Highways and Byways of America's miniseries, Low Men in the Yellow Coats miniseries. Did you like my suggestion where you just do different targets for the different episodes?
Yeah.
Because you could always come back with a season 2 and do more targets if you decide to, if it catches and everything like that.
Yeah.
We'd redo the Dead Zone, The Shining, and you do a Rose the Hat show. Would you do a period piece where you just see her getting steam, dealing with issues? Would you do a big bad for her, like someone hunting them or something like that? Someone finds out about them and it's like a revenge, like a dad or something like that going after them?
Or maybe at some point there was a civil war amongst them.
What if there's
groups.
a different group? You got the True Knot and then you got the Untrue Knot.
Yeah.
Or the Frayed Knot.
Also, while I'm looking at my list, I also noticed something else.
Yeah.
Revival. Don't know how it's tying in, but Revival's fucking happening, dude, because that needs to fucking happen.
All right. And then a Holly X-Files show going through the different locations in the Stephen King universe.
Which would definitely cross over with Dark Tower.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine
you
her.
got the walk-ins in Maine that she could investigate.
Dude, imagine her investigating Mort, Jack Mort. And she's really on his tail when the rolling stuff goes down. She's on the verge of going to take him down when
she's got a New York City detective and his partner convinced, and
they're going to arrest him.
They're going to arrest him
when he's jumping into the fucking subway.
And she's getting out of the car, and you see him running into the subway on fire.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh. And you just go to Flanagan, and you're just all right, I got this plan for this, 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 and Flanagan's just going to be like, thank you, Tad.
And Flanagan, how many episodes, years, how much money? Just give it all to you.
Here's a blank check. Go.
Oh, man.
It's fun, right? It's fun to play these little games, right?
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff, man. I do think a Holly X-Files thing would be one of the coolest things in the world for me, though, man.
Fun.
I still think that might be one of my most wanted things. If you could sign me up for anything outside of Dark Tower, actually going forward with Mike Flanagan, that's probably number 2 for me, because it's just how cool would that be, dude?
Yeah, she's just investigating different things. Also,
it's kind of in the
really
same spirit as Castle Rock, right? Castle Rock was a kind of cool thing where it's it was exploring different corners of the King universe without really being tied down to the King universe in the same way. I think this would be the same thing. It's it wouldn't. You have to definitely be careful with it. Where it's you're not going to do everything, right? She's not going to cross paths with Cujo and Annie Wilkes, and but you just got to pick your spots. Where it's just go through the entire bibliography and just grab a couple a handful of things where it's these are the things I want.
It would definitely be on top of the list for me.
Yeah, because her investigating Derry, even if it was off of a cycle, not in an on cycle.
Oh, I'd want her.
But she's
I'd want her there post.
But she's investigating
dead.
but she'd be smart enough to look past it all to see and investigate the whole history of the town, right? She'd be the one that somehow she was on Wikipedia and noticed the actual death rates there and decided, I'm going to investigate this town. This doesn't make any sense.
There's something wrong here. I need
but
to
it's between cycles, so she's never going to truly
You would put her in the middle of a cycle?
No, in between 2 cycles. She'd be there.
That's what I mean. Is you wouldn't have her coming after Pennywise is dead.
No, I think have him still
because the
there.
timeline doesn't line up there.
Yeah, well, also,
Pennywise dies in 85, so
yeah, but Mr. Mercedes, it depends on when it depends on how you pull the timeline for sure. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be a cool one.
You could do a Holly where it's like 2015 and she's going, before the cycle, right before it ramps up again and everything.
Yeah.
But I think it would be interesting to see her going and investigating after the cycle because, dude, I swear to God, it is made for that pan down. Oh, we're all happy. Hi ho, Silver, away! And then there's a pan down, and you see an egg hatch.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why, but it's just like made for that, right?
Yeah.
If you ever wanted that, Holly's the way you get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm starting to wonder though if we're getting close to the end of the Holly stuff.
Six books.
The fact we're getting another one, I kind of like. I thought that with Holly as well. Where, this is probably the last one, but now Holly. What was it? Holly again? Was that the name of it?
Holly Forever
or Holly? Yeah, I'm blanking on what it was called now. But I feel like that's probably going to be the last one. I mean, King obviously enjoys the character. Always Holly. But I just as a Holly fan, I can't overly hope that we'll get like 2 or 3 more books. Like not that's probably a lot, but even another book after this next one, I think it's too much to hope for, but give me a Holly X-Files show. I mean, maybe you have to give me like a Ralph to be your partner because you got to have that X-Files dichotomy of the believer and non-believer.
The one believer and one non-believer.
Although you always want to like shake Scully because it's like when you go through all this after how many seasons, like how are you not believing by now?
How do you still not believe? You saw a monster. You saw an alien.
I remember that as a kid. I didn't even watch every episode, but I would watch them like, how long is this show gone? How does she still not believe? Come on, man.
She's always conveniently knocked out.
They do that a lot, actually. Where like, she'll miss like the crucial like transformation of the creature because she's knocked out or out of the room. Mulder sees it, but she doesn't. It's like
she's always trying to pull off their mask, like in Scooby-Doo.
But that'll do it for this episode and this Palaver section as well. Let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff real quick. If you want to, let's see if you want to subscribe to the show, you can do that here on YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review us. We'd appreciate that. Also, give us a thumbs up. I forgot to ask for that earlier. I'm a bad YouTube person, apparently. I always forget to say that. But the thumbs up are awesome. It keeps North Central Positronics from finding us. And then you could also stream us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, all kinds of fun places. Join us for the live streams here at youtube.com/DarkTowerPalaver. Find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. I'll have links for everything we covered here. And then if you want to support the show, join us over at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. Upcoming next month's hangout.
Next two we got planned.
We're gonna be doing Mr. Harrigan's Phone watch along. Peter's never seen
it. I still haven't watched it. Read it, but not watched it.
And then at the September we are going to be doing a deep dive on Later.
Yeah, one of Tad's favorites from the recent Stephen King stuff.
Really is. And then if you want to contact us, Peter can let you know the ways to do that.
Email us at show@darktowerpalaver.com or check out our Twitter. It's @darktowerpod. It's @darktowerpod. We got a Blue Sky. It's @darktowerpalaver.bsky.social. And then our Facebook is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/users/darktowerpalaver.
Indeed, and we'll be back in a fortnight for book club. We'll continue on with Wizard and Glass, hoping to see Rhea of the Coos again. It's been far too long since we've seen her.
No.
We're seeing way too much of Cordelia Delgado. We need to flip those and get us more Rhea and less Cordelia.
How about neither?
Ermot is who we really miss.
I like Ermot. He's just a little snake.
But yeah, we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
All right, everyone in the chat, thank you all for joining us. We'll be back for Geekery Bites momentarily, and again, we'll be back in a fortnight for book club if you want to join us then. Thank you all for joining, being part of the conversation. It's always fun to have you guys as part of the show. I still do believe that's probably why emails have tapered off quite a bit. I feel like it's right about the time we started doing YouTube Lives that emails kind of plummeted off the edge, which makes sense because you guys that really are involved probably were involved before. You were just emailing rather than being able to chat with us. So we love it, though. We love having you part of the show. So we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.